Mister Young and Foreign.
Kick to the gut!
Kick to the gut.
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 Hey, kick to the gut.
Kick to the gut.
Kick to the gut podcast.
Kick to the gut podcast.
Kick to the gut.
Your podcast sucks!
Oh, it's Kick to the Gut. Oh, good lord, I can't even say the title of our show properly anymore. It's too early in the morning, bro. Kick to the gut, baby. How you doing? Mr. Young in the house.
It's for in the building, bro. I know it's tough, bro, because it's like Saturday morning. Most people are just sleeping in, stretching out.
Bro, I've been on leave this whole week, so I've been waking up late. I've developed the habit, and now you ask me to wake up at this time. I'm like, But we are here to talk about wrestling. In fact, in just a little while, we'll have a special guest joining us on the show. A little conversation that we had with someone who's no stranger to the camera. Let's put it that way, okay? And we are going to reminisce with her about the Ruthless Aggression era.
Bro, keyword, her. Finally, we've got a lady on the podcast. It's been too much testosterone. I think our female listeners also will be like, hey, you all boys are talking about wrestling. Come, let some girls join in the conversation, right?
That's true. So yes, we're going to reminisce about the good old days, perhaps. I know a lot of us grew up during the Ruthless Aggression era. So yeah, it's going to be a fun trip down memory lane. But in the meantime, though, let's talk about the current state of affairs. And my goodness, who would have thought in 2021, I don't know about you, Foreign, but Mr. Young would be excited about what AEW has in store for us.
Bro, I mean, Mr. Young is a wrestling fan first and foremost, right? If wrestling is good, if it's fun, if it's entertaining, I think all of us will be hyped for it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, so the state of the AEW and the WWE products as it is right now, like, I don't think it's time to sound the alarm just yet. You know, there have been major defections, yes, but even people, Hall of Famers like Mick Foley, Booker T, they've come out on their podcasts, on their social media to say, hey, WWE, you need to get your shit together already because this is just the start.
Of course. And actually, I really want to ask you, like, the first bone of contention, something CM Punk said about the defections.
What did he say?
Did you hear what he said? He said that somebody asked him in the post-media scrum on All Out whether this defection is as big as what Hall and Nash did back in the WCW days, right?
Yes.
And then CM Punk said, with all due respect to what they did back in the day, and this might piss some people off, he says that he thinks it's bigger than that.
Well, here's the thing. There's... I get where he's coming from. I get that he's trying to sell the company. Of course, he's not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, that was bigger. We are just minor leagues. Of course, he's not going to say that, right? Whether he means it or not is a totally different story. Only one way to find out whether this is going to be something huge. You got to wait it out. You got to see in 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about how when AEW first started 2019, it felt like people kept saying like, oh, this is just a t-shirt company. This is just sell t-shirts only, right?
T-shirt, indie, mud show company. But now...
And then 2020 during the pandemic, they say, lama, only 1 year in kena pandemic. How the company gonna survive? And then now, 2021, whew.
Well, we always talk about this whole, like, if you had that one, like, billionaire backer to, cater to your every fantasy, could you, in fact, put together a wrestling company for the fans? And it seems like that is where they're going. I also, while I was brushing my teeth this morning, I don't know why, I was just randomly thinking, see, Mr. Young thinks about wrestling even when he's brushing his teeth, okay?
Nice.
I was thinking about, like, the state of pro wrestlers right now, because... you have to, like, I've heard this conversation being had before. A lot of old school wrestlers like, oh, now the new wrestlers, all they do is sit around and play video games with each other, right?
Yep.
But you have to remember, growing up, those were the kids watching the last generation of wrestlers. The video game playing nerds who grew up to pursue the art of pro wrestling. So, like, yeah, you just talk about that elite group itself, right? They were all video game. It's funny because they like to call people nerds, even though they are like the biggest nerds. But I think it's sort of done in a tongue-in-cheek way. But yeah, man. I think there's a lot of crossover between pro wrestling, video games. Adam Cole is on Twitch. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes. I hear he's very big on Twitch.
Yeah, he plays like Resident Evil, a lot of stuff I like as well. I'm not trying to compare myself to Adam Cole, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's this whole generation of nerdy video game kids who grew up to become pro wrestlers, and there they are, sort of living out their pro wrestling gaming fantasy. I'm sure they had the SmackDown versus Raw series, GM mode, all that shit, and they booked their own stuff.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, when Adam Cole is pretty big on Twitch, that means he has a whole community of people who loves his authentic self, not just his WWE character, right? And when you brought up the point about how there's this cross section of comic book fans, video game fans, pro wrestling fans, I think all of them, you can just lump them all together. Even though yes, each particular thing is niche, I think if you are into gaming, you will appreciate some of the wrestling games, right?
Yeah.
If you're into pro wrestling, right, like you said, you will be playing the games, you'll be collecting all the cards, you will be reading out all the stuff. So, and comic book lore, same as wrestling. We love all the huge history of pro wrestling, like how we love comic book history. Same.
Let me steal a word they love to use, the elite, that is. Nerds. We are all really just different types of nerds, but we are a bunch of nerds who enjoy a certain thing to the nth degree. And
man. And nerds come in all sizes. I mean, like, you know, we got one time Henry Cavill, who is like super into gaming and like freaking Dungeons and Dragons, whatever shit he plays, World of Warcraft. Bro, we all come in all sizes, bro.
I guess my whole point is the mainstream needs to understand and not say cater to that, but like acknowledge it's not about the cool kids anymore. Like, you know, it's kind of like the nerds have taken over. It's a great time for us.
Even the cool kids are trying to be nerds, bro.
Exactly. No, you know what it is too? I think it's a general understanding. Hey, it's okay to be proud of what you enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the podcast, bro.
Yes.
When we started this damn podcast, it's because we are both nerds for pro wrestling. There's no community out there, or the community out there is like really far and away from us. So we created our own, right?
We've come full circle, bro. We've come back to the genesis of where we started, kind of like the Matrix, you know, the fourth movie coming back. Did you see the trailer, by the way? I know, I hate to sidetrack, but bro, that trailer, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic because I freaking love the original movie, plus the, you know, sequels and stuff like that. But I'm like, ooh, can they recapture the nostalgia? That's the big question.
My question is Yahya Abdul-Mateen gonna be a young Morpheus? Because he looks kind of the same. Yeah,
right? Like, they have the same vibe, same look. But I'm like, when I watched it, I was like, man, I miss Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. He was iconic. They really are the holy trinity, bro.
Funnily enough, Trinity and Neo are the same. So I don't know why Morpheus is the only one who all of a sudden he got like the fountain of youth or some shit.
Ooh, could it be like a Back to the Future or Back to the Past kind of shit? I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, sorry, sidetrack aside, let's get back to pro wrestling. Also, what is of very, very strong interest is, and I know these wrestlers, they've never been shy to say what they feel, but recently, after all these AEW signings, they've like come out in interviews and stuff like that when asked, and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm just like Finn Balor. He was like, oh yeah, I'm just hanging around, biding my time. You know, Kevin Owens rather, has hinted to like his contract is coming up, you know, like, and we know those guys are all friends with the Young Bucks, with the Elite. So if you look at the WWE roster, remember we were talking about last week after AEW All Out, who else could be the next big signing? Like, all there is Bray Wyatt left, right? I guess we didn't consider also, what about WWE superstars whose contracts are coming up?
Yeah, someone like Kevin Owens, he's already hinted he's coming out at the end of the year. When you talk about Finn Balor basically came out on an interview and said, like, I don't need the WWE and WWE don't need me. Yeah. And it's been shown that WWE really treats him like shit, man.
Yeah, like, when we need you, you just come in and fill in the gap and, you know, fight with Roman Reigns. Other than that, no, it's all about the Brock Lesnar, right? So, like, I mean, it's kind of inevitable that he goes to the AEW at this point.
And it makes a lot of sense, right? When WWE wants to focus on homegrown talent that they can scout from other places, because they know the indie wrestlers, their ultimate destination is AEW. It's so clear, the line in the sand has been drawn.
It's weird. Bro, it's weird to me, like. It's weird to me that WWE will make that distinction, because it seems to me like what Triple H was doing is like, okay, let's mix the two. We have our homegrown talent, we have our indie, like, you know, superstars here and there. Once in a while, they get WrestleMania moments, shit like that, right? So at least as a product, you cater to both. Now it almost seems like Vince and gang, I mean, I don't know who's calling the shots, but somebody or they are going, you know what? We're just going to hunker down and focus on our homegrowns and screw this entire indie. Let them have their indie mud show. But the problem is, you gave these indie guys a big platform, and I don't know if they blame Triple H for this. Like, hey, why we wasted so much time on these folk when we shouldn't have, So it's an interesting dynamic, that company right now. I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit of turmoil.
I'm not surprised, bro. The fact that the indie wrestlers were allowed to be stars in WWE, I don't think that's a Vince call. Vince never wanted all these small wrestlers to become like his main guys.
Yeah.
But because like the likes of CM Punk and then Bryan came into the picture, I think a lot of people backstage fought hard for them, and then like Vince was saying like, okay lah, give chance lah, see how it goes. It's almost as if he's like, when you say about blaming Triple H, I don't know whether Triple H is the one exactly that he will blame, but he'll probably blame the people like, hey, you see, I give them all the opportunity, crack through the door through my company, they take advantage and now they build their own company. Screw it lah, I'm gonna focus on my big size man the way I've always wanted it.
Focus on my big size man, the horse league,
the slapping meat.
But yeah, it really does seem like that right now. And actually, best wishes and speedy recovery to Paul Levesque, aka Triple H. He's recovering after a cardiac event. Okay, jokes aside, I know the internet was like, oh, what was this because of what Vince and Bruce Pritchard took over NXT, stuff like that. I'm sure this is something that he's had to deal with for a while. So speedy recovery to the man himself, right?
Yeah.
To a man who was a huge part of our growing up in terms of wrestling.
And I think for us, right, as wrestling fans, we do not know what we do not know. So I think it's best not to speculate. Same situation with Keith Lee. Everyone thought it was like, oh, creative holding him down. Bro, he was battling a life-threatening illness. So I think we will just calm down, just let it ride out, wish him the best of recoveries.
Talking about Keith Lee, right? Wasn't it pitched to have Adam Cole be his manager? No link, right? Like, Adam Cole, Keith Lee. I mean, Adam Cole probably could have made it work. He's talented enough, but it's like a bit no link.
You literally get the guy who Keith Lee was fighting against the Undisputed Era and put them together. And also you get one of the best wrestlers in NXT to become the manager.
Like, wait, what? Okay, so that's the situation. I have to say, after AEW All Out, I watched AEW All Out twice, okay? I know this is shocking news, ladies and gentlemen. Mister Young is enjoying the AEW product. I watched it twice. And then Raw, I kind of skimmed through. NXT, skimmed through. Couldn't hold my interest. Now, here's the problem. Like, obviously, they made this huge impact with Ruby Soho, with CM Punk, Daniel Bryanson. Bryan Danielson. I'm going to say that a lot, by the way.
It will take some time.
Yeah, as well as Adam Cole, Bay, right? So, can they keep the momentum going? Or is it going to be like what they did with CM Punk? They're going to milk the shit out of it. Every week on them, Dynamite or Rampage, one of them show up. They cut promo, blah, 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 a little bit.
That's the thing, like, you're right. For me, when I watched All Out, I was thinking about All Out the day after. I was like watching back highlights. I was like still like not over. It's almost like I went to a concert. I'm still in the post-concert hangover. And then I was like, oh, there's Raw today. Sure. Team RKO, bro. You know what I mean? So, but that's scary for WWE because if their fans are feeling that way, they're watching it out of habit, not because they're legitimately excited to see what's going to happen on Raw and on SmackDown. Or NXT.
NXT is going to be one that suffers the most at this point. Because like all these budding talents, all of a sudden, and if you realize this, right, like the man who was ruling Wednesday nights at the top, Adam Cole, as part of the Undisputed Era, is now on Wednesday nights on TNT, Dynamite. So it's like, ooh, they definitely feel the sting from that.
It's essentially their biggest defection ever from NXT. They literally got NXT's top star.
Exactly.
And like when you talk about the veterans, right, like Garganos, Ciampas, they're older. They're like more to the mid-30s already. But Adam Cole, a lot of people forget how young he is. He's only in his early 30s.
Oh, really?
So that means, he's only 32, if I'm not wrong. He's born in 89.
Okay.
So you think about it, right? He's had all these crazy matches. He had like almost a decade of experience, but he only did it in his 20s. So like 30s is almost a wrestler's prime, right?
Yeah.
So AEW is getting his prime. So that's like crazy to think after everything he's done in his career.
Yeah, and all this talk, we haven't even talked about Daniel Bryan. Like, okay, would you say that Daniel Bryan, I wouldn't say he's in his prime right now. He's probably more like veteran status.
Yeah.
He's only going to wrestle like a few big matches here and there.
Yeah. Did you see his in-ring promo after All Out went off air?
No, I didn't. I read about it though.
Okay. Yeah. So he cut this very passionate promo, and something that he said struck with me very, very well.
Okay.
Because he also reiterated that point at the post-media scrum. He said that everybody knows he's good. And like he's not even bragging at this point. He told himself like everyone acknowledges how good of a wrestler I am. And then they say that this company is all elite, right? So it's not about me proving myself. Everybody knows that I'm good. I want to see whether these wrestlers are really as elite as they call themselves.
Right.
I love how he's thrown that gauntlet and say like, oh, you all keep talking you guys are the best wrestler. Okay, now I legitimately has succeeded and brought wrestling wherever I go.
Yeah.
Now I wanna and he said something about he doesn't care about like putting over young wrestlers like CM Punk. He just wants to fucking kick their heads in.
That's funny.
Yeah, I love that his attitude because I like how fearless he is. And one of the reasons why he wanted to leave WWE until Vince McMahon tried to convince him to stay was because Vince McMahon was very overprotective of him after his career-threatening injury. So he didn't want him to take a lot of risks in the ring. But I feel Daniel Bryan is like the kind of guy that let me test my limits. I want to have all these killer matches. And if WWE can't give me like the full reign, he wants to go all out. No pun intended, in these other companies.
I just hope that he doesn't put his health at risk lah. That being said, there are a lot of these guys actually who, have had those career-threatening injuries and then making their comebacks. And some of it, I don't know if it's to their detriment because I guess at the end of the day, though, you got to let them do what they want, right? If they want to do it, if they can't do it in the WWE, they'll go AEW and do it. Like Paul White. Anyway. Okay, we have a bit of a lag situation. There you go. Either that or Foreign was super shocked by me invoking the name of Paul White.
Yeah, then my face frozen right after
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Okay, so the state of AEW and WWE. In a nutshell, I think WWE, okay, to their credit, they haven't like panicked. They haven't hit the panic button and, started throwing crazy shit out there. But they should be having these meetings and asking themselves, how can we make the product exciting again? Because AEW has all the momentum right now. Like, I know that WWE is SmackDown. I haven't watched it. I only read the spoilers, right? They were in Madison Square Garden. There's a Seth Rollins Edge match. They threw that there just to try to get attention.
Yeah.
And but just reading about what happened on the show, I'm like, okay lah, Brock Lesnar comes out, I'll probably watch it later, but it's probably not something I'm going to watch more than once.
It's not destination TV, and I think one thing that WWE doesn't have right now, other than momentum, is this sense of excitement of what's going to happen on the shows.
Yeah.
It feels very like, like routine.
Yeah. Actually, that being said, was Samoa Joe even on NXT this week? I feel like that's your champ. He's the biggest name on the show. He wasn't there. I mean, you headlined it with MSK or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah, and then like the only thing to look forward to is like the Tiansha girl debut.
So NXT on social media, on Instagram, they shooting themselves in the foot. Like, you know what they did? They posted a photo of the Creed brothers, the new tag team from Diamond Mine. Oh my God, dead on arrival.
Okay.
The Creed brothers and Mei Ying. They put photos of them on their Instagram page. Who had the more impressive debut? What the fuck do you think the entire comment section said?
Don't tell me. I mean, are they gonna troll? If they're gonna troll, they're gonna say it's Creed lah.
No, the entire comment section. Who had the best debut? Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson.
Bryan Danielson.
Like, wow, damn stupid. Like, you knew that shit was gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh no. Every time I see WWE posting something on social media, they're like, what are you looking forward to most on Raw? Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole on Wednesday night SmackDown. Wednesday night Dynamite. Yeah, it's tough lah, bro. Because there's gonna be AEW trolls on WWE channels. and vice versa, right?
Yep. It is what it is, I suppose. At the end of the day, it's a good time. We say it all the time, but it's a good time to be a pro wrestling fan now that these creatives have their sort of a little, own their own show to let their creativity flow. So talking about that, let's move on to talking about the PWI 500. So that's Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It's like every year they rank the top 500 wrestlers, right?
Yes. My biggest question, bro, like before we jump into this PWI 500 topic, are we at the beginning of the next wrestling boom?
I think so.
Do you feel that way?
I think so. If anything, because of Tony Khan and his billions and billions of dollars, giving these guys a platform, guys and girls, a platform to, do their thing where they couldn't do before. Like, it's essentially they're giving these indie wrestlers, fantasy bookers, the actual power to do what they do against the WWE.
It's crazy because when I was thinking back, right, like the 80s was the wrestling golden era. The 90s attitude era was this resurgence of...
Yeah.
And let admit, like...
Okay, we're getting a fair leg spike again. We'll ride this through right now. There you go. You can move. You can move.
Yes, I can move. Do I have to repeat what I said?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying so the last 20 years, it's been a fairly down period for wrestling fans. We are watching it out of habit, out of loyalty, but not out of genuine excitement. So can you admit that this time wrestling is legitimately exciting to watch?
Oh yeah. If anything too, for a WWE fan, it has to be okay, what is WWE gonna do to counter this? Are they gonna go all out? Pun not intended again. What can they do? Because they can't sign anybody in. Anybody who's anybody is already, and they only have one trump card left. We've talked about this last week, is The Rock.
Yep. They really have to invest in what they have right now. They can't make accusers. They can't later then push them. But they really need to focus on the talent here now.
To WWE's credit, at least, I hope, they've been through this before. People like Triple H, like Vince McMahon, they've been through the trenches of the WWE, WCW wars, so they are not going to panic, but like Booker T, like Mick Foley said, they better get their shit together right now. Real quick. Build some new stars.
Yes. All right, PWI 500, let's talk about it, bro.
Okay, so Pro Wrestling Illustrated is the new, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the magazine, right? Does it have to do with Dave Meltzer? Did he come out with the PWI? Oh,
no. It's actually not Dave Meltzer.
Okay.
Dave Meltzer, if I'm not wrong, I can't remember what's his...
Wrestling Observer.
Yes, Wrestling Observer. PWI is actually the largest and longest running pro wrestling magazine in North America.
Yes.
And they have no affiliation to any wrestling company. So they report wrestling news, whether it's the kayfabe and non-kayfabe stuff, legitimately like a news site.
Yeah. So, and they cover all wrestling.
Yes.
Oh, hang on, give me a second. I think the dog needs to go outside.
Oh, bye-bye, doggo.
Yeah, she keeps scratching the dog.
Oh, no. Okay. You always get a special appearance from your doggy. Is it Sophie?
No, it's Chelsea. Sophie's still asleep. So, talking about the PWI, right? Just very quickly, we're not going to go through all 100, but we will take a look at the top 10, perhaps.
Yes.
Funnily enough, last year, who was the number one on the PWI?
John Moxley.
Yeah, we saw how that turned out. So, I don't put much stock in these, lists. After all, it's just the opinion of a few. At the end of the day, we all have our favorites, right?
Yeah. Well, what's very interesting is they have a period, a competition period where they take it into account. So it's from September of
July, bro, July. And
from July of
hang on, we got a bit of lag. So what we're gonna do is I'll tell you the competition period, the quote unquote judging period is from last year, July 1st to June 30th of this year. And the ranking criteria are as follows. I have it right in front of me. In-ring achievements.
Go.
So that's win-loss records, like that freaking means anything. Championships and tournaments won. Influence, as in visibility and prestige within the promotion or the industry. Technical ability.
Fair point.
Quality of maneuvers, matches, and ring psychology. Competition. So you have to have matches against people who matter lah. So all those AEW Dark and Elevator people, sorry, your records bobakai one. And activity.
Yeah.
So minimum of 10 matches, so no part-timers.
So no Brock Lesnar, no Goldberg.
Yeah. Do not invoke the name of Oldberg. We might get injured. Okay. Anyway. So
I might get leg.
yeah. So the top 10. Let's go from 10 to 1, shall we? At number 10, Rich Swann. Okay, he's doing stuff on Impact. He's doing like main event stuff. Don't watch it, so I can't say anything.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I can say something about Rich Swann. So Rich Swann basically has turned himself from a cruiserweight. Everyone knows him as a cruiserweight in 205 into a legitimate main eventer.
Sure.
In Impact. So I did for kind of like bringing up like the prestige, because when he was in Impact, he actually was having killer matches.
Right.
And he was the one that dropped the Impact title to Kenny Omega.
All right. So let's move on there. At number 9, Shingo Takagi. No idea who that is. Number 8 is Finn Balor. I'm surprised Finn Balor is here. It's probably from his NXT work.
Yeah, for sure. I think most of the competition judging period was his NXT matches. Wait, a quick word about Takagi. So Takagi is the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Oh.
So Will Ospreay. Okay, so the one that won it, that unified it, was what's his name, Ibushi. And then Ibushi lost it to Ospreay, and then everyone was thinking like, wow, Ospreay is gonna go on a crazy run with this title, but then he got injured because of Takagi.
Okay.
Takagi actually basically lost in a title match the first time around, but he injured him so bad, or beat his ass so bad, that Will Ospreay legitimately had a neck injury.
Oh, wow.
And then they vacated the title, and then Takagi won some sort of tournament and to be crowned a champion.
Oh, there's an interesting storyline right there.
Yeah.
If only we paid more attention to New Japan, huh? Talking about Will Ospreay, at number 7, Will Ospreay. Number 6, Mr. Japanese legend killer, apparently, Jon Moxley.
Ooh, Jon Moxley still in the top 10, huh?
Yeah. Okay, sure. Number 5, Kota Ibushi. And this is interesting.
Yep, as I was saying.
Yeah, I think let's spend more time on the top 5. We can forget about the rest, to be honest. Number 4, Drew McIntyre. If you think about it, though, in looking at this time period, that makes sense. He was on top of the WWE. He had matches like almost every week.
Yes, and he was technically the undefeated champion during the Thunderdome era. So we have to respect him for that.
Bobby Lashley. Also, not surprising. I'm surprised they put Bobby Lashley over Drew, but in a lot of ways, his title reign has been a little bit more dominant and in front of crowds as well. So there's more of an impact. Yeah. So you got to feel bad for Drew. At this point, hopefully he gets another run. But later down the timeline.
If you think about it, Drew McIntyre never actually managed to defend his title in front of a crowd. So I think his entire reign was without crowds.
Yeah, he won it at WrestleMania in the Performance Center, and he lost it.
Fastlane, right? To the Miz.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, wow, that poor guy. Anyway, Roman Reigns at number 2. Acknowledge him. What do you have to say about that?
I'm actually I'm quite surprised that he's at number 2, and I think a lot of WWE defenders and fans were like, why is he number 2 when he literally has the best career year of his life?
Yeah. I think it probably has a lot to do with the folk over at PWI having a sort of a indie slant, as it were, slight indie bias. Because if you look at it, okay, number 1 is Kenny Omega, right? And I guess maybe because he's doing the belt collected thing, so technically, you talk about championships won, he's going around winning every fucking championship out there. Influence, he's like the top guy in AEW and arguably also at a lot of these other promotions. Also, they see him, they view him very highly. The problem with that is it's not like Roman Reigns can go over to Impact, to AAA and all that shit to win their titles. It's just not how it works. I feel like in terms of a needle mover, I think I would rank Roman Reigns on top of Kenny Omega, but this is like, it's like trying to compare apples and oranges at this point.
Yeah. Can I read out an excerpt from PWI? I actually have it on my phone.
Go ahead.
I downloaded it from the soft copy. So they did the ranking, and so this is like the biography of why he's number 1. So it's like a pretty short paragraph. So Kenny Omega did more than just have the best year of any wrestler during the evaluation period. Having held and defended recognized world championships in 3 different companies, Omega accomplished an unprecedented feat that may never be replicated as the top title holder in AEW, Impact, and AAA, right? And it's a testament not only to his remarkable skill, but also his business acumen as an AEW executive vice president. After underachieving somewhat in his first year in AEW, he has reminded fans why he achieved the top PWI ranking once before and why he's known as the best bout machine. He had great wrestling, whether he's brawling with Jon Moxley, flying with Rey Fenix, or matching strength with moves in Impact. He has opened a forbidden door to promotions across the globe, and it will be a while before Omega runs out of fresh, compelling opponents. So that's the reason why he's number one according to PWI.
All very valid points. All very valid. All this boils down to is who you like more. Because it's not like Roman Reigns had the opportunity to do these things, you know what I mean? But for where he is, and WWE being the media juggernaut that it is, and he is on top of it, I think that says a lot as well. So
yes, you're right. And I believe that, in my opinion, Roman Reigns is the bigger box office draw. I think he will sell more tickets out than Kenny Omega, but I think Kenny Omega has done something that makes him number one in the eyes of the PWI people by winning all these multiple championships, being more decorated in a wrestling world's kind of sense.
Question, if let's what if, let's do a quick what if. What if Roman Reigns was in AEW and Kenny Omega was in WWE? Do you think they would flourish?
You know what? I don't think so. I don't think they will flourish to the potential they are now, because I feel like if Roman Reigns went to AEW, he will be where Miro is right now.
Right.
It will be dominant, sure, but I don't think they will push him as number one guy, because you got to get the elite people to be at number one. Right? And then, and Kenny Omega, he will have challenges in WWE.
Yeah, because he has too many quote-unquote creative things that he might want to do that might not line up. And plus, his wrestling style doesn't even fit the WWE mold, as we all know.
What's my favorite thing about this week, bro? Listening to Jim Cornette giving his review of All Out.
Oh my god. I actually listened to that episode as well, because I was like, oh, okay, I'm sure he has a lot to say. And surprisingly, I found I don't know if it's because I've gotten used to the AEW product or what, but I find like sometimes he's unnecessarily harsh on a lot of it.
Was he fair about some of the things that he discussed, or was he
it's very obvious he's an old school. He's an old white guy. Like, you know what I mean? That whole angry old man shakes fist at cloud vibe. That's what I get.
Yeah. But I did see him give his credits to CM Punk and his match. I think he said that was the only wrestling match on the card other than MJF versus Chris Jericho. So I thought that was very interesting, because you had some issues with the CM Punk Darby Allin match, right? So
because it went kind of slow.
But his argument was that was wrestling. Like they did wrestling moves, so he appreciated that. So I don't know, it's very interesting. I like to hear everyone's perspective on this.
Here's the thing, Jim Cornette, right, is like 2 eras behind us. That's his you know what I mean? That's the shit he likes. That's what he grew up on. The old Mid-South, that's him. The old NWA style. Like, you know me, I grew up straight as WWE, so that's my style of storytelling, of presentation, of sports entertainment. And then there's the new one, which is like the Young Bucks flippity floppity shit.
There was this one comment that was made about the match, which I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because they said that the CM Punk and Darby Allin match was reminiscent of Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid. Do you get that vibes? It was also, it's almost as if they even did certain spots, like there were actual callbacks to it.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, I have to go back and watch Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid then.
Yeah, because I kind of watched it and I kind of like, whoa, okay, I see what the story they're trying to tell. It's like this upstart that surprised Bret Hart, because Bret Hart wanted to have like a fair wrestling match, so he kind of slowed the pace down, did like just more of like snap mess and like sleeper holes kind of stuff, just to like kind of get a sensing on this kid. But this kid, every time he had the opportunity, he will like use speed and like literally smash Bret. So Bret got a bit annoyed. Yeah, and then he kind of like finished off the match. So I saw the parallels, but you can see on your own and judge your own conclusions. Interesting.
It's a good comparison. Okay, so there you have it. PWI's 500 top 10, Kenny Omega on top. He's on top of the world right now, and he's now going to get to work with Bryan Danielson. So things get even better. And this is the perfect spot, by the way, for Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson to come in. Like, I just hope, and I don't think this will happen. But I remember when Christian came in, it's like, oh, he's going to be the number one guy, and then fell down. the ranks, feuded with Matt Hardy, nobody cares. And a lot of it is has to do with the fact that, you know, like, I mean, a lot of the lack of interest in the main event, Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, was because there was no momentum going into this. Right, with Christian, cold. Yeah, he was cold as F, because when he came in, that was when he had all the momentum, but he didn't challenge. I feel worried for people like Hangman Page. Darby Allin, not so. He seems like, okay, like they have him pegged as the guy, right? But Hangman Page has been away for so long, and then all of a sudden, all these guys come in. All of a sudden, he gets moved back in the pecking order so much. I
am curious, you know, the rivalry that I think Adam Page needs to have when he comes back is against Adam Cole.
Baby, yes. And if anything, Adam Cole will make him at this point.
I agree as well. And you're right. For Darby Allin, I think he's beating his time. Bryan Danielson is very interesting because when he came back, do you see the promo on Dynamite?
Yep.
Where he said like Kenny Omega was saying like, oh, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. But I believe Bryan Danielson is the only wrestler that can literally come in and screw with their rankings.
Yeah.
And literally, I don't need the rankings. I can just challenge him right now because I am legitimate.
Yeah. That's sports entertainment for you people. So, okay. Bryan Danielson versus Adam Cole versus Nick Jackson, Matt Jackson. I'm sure we'll get him versus what was this? The one of the Stooges. Nakazawa, Brandon Cutler, and finally Kenny Omega. So there's a lot of legs. Plus, somehow Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are involved. Christian is involved. So there are like many, you know, combinations you can have leading
all the
up
way to Full Gear.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have a lot of matches before the next big pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think that would be very interesting. And the thing about, like you said, the great thing about AEW is their pay-per-views brief. There's space between each other. So there is time to build up the hype. And it will make you want to part with like the money. Okay, I don't mind parting with this money because they really made the effort to build it up.
Yeah. So, interesting times, y'all. Interesting times. I can't wait to see what happens next. WWE, your move.
Yes, let's go.
Okay, that being said, it's time to have a little conversation. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Better times, perhaps, in the WWE. Even though everyone reminisces more about the Attitude Era, I think looking back, this era brought us a lot of really good sports entertainment plus really solid workers as well.
Yes, and a lot of unheralded, underrated wrestlers that may not have shined during the Attitude Era. I think they got their just flowers during the Ruthless Aggression era.
Absolutely. And we decided to get a special guest. And just a caveat, right? We recorded this interview a couple of weeks ago. So during SummerSlam week. So if you hear references about SummerSlam, that's why. It's not because we randomly decided, hey, let's talk about SummerSlam for no reason.
Yeah. And we were find the time to post this interview, but of course there's so much that was happening post SummerSlam. We had to review it all out, we had to preview it, we had to review all out, Rampage, blah blah blah. So like so much has happened since this particular interview, but you can watch this in a bubble. It's like a capsule in time, talking about a great memory of the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah, so many memories. So without further ado, as Kenny Omega likes to say, here is Nadia. She is a TV presenter. She's a producer as well. We are going to be talking about the Ruthless Aggression era. And joining us here today on Kick to the Gut, you might have seen her before. She's done a lot of interviewing of athletes. You've seen her on TV. She is a presenter, producer. Nadia, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Hey.
Nice to see you all.
Absolutely. Okay, first things first, you have to show everybody the t-shirt that you are wearing right now.
Oh, all right. I'm going to mess up the setup.
No, don't worry about it. Latino.
Viva la raza.
Viva la raza. Yeah, Eddie Guerrero is one of my favorites ever.
Represent. Yes. And of course, we are here to talk a little bit about that era that was, well, kind of started by the man that's been in the headlines in movies right now. We just talked about the Summer of Cena and everything, and his two little words when he debuted, Ruthless Aggression. That is the topic of today's little chat with you. And that was also when you were watching the WWE the most, right, in your life?
Yeah, it was so good. It was like the period when I was totally obsessed with the WWE.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got to preface this by Nadia. You have to show us what you brought to this interview. I believe a certain
Oh my
shirt.
God. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right off the top, we got to show that.
So John Cena, right? He's a thing. So
That's right.
here is my 14-year-old shirt. Can you all see?
Oh,
Rock Fools.
Rock
Fools. I have
there you
no
go.
sense of direction there. Can you
Okay,
see?
wait. We don't understand. It's a pretty big shirt. How is that fit for a 14-year-old size?
Yeah, so it was totally the wrong size. My classmate got that for me. So it's a size M. So I think the three of us can fit in this shirt actually.
Oh dear gosh.
if we were
Sounds
if
like
we
a
were
very
trying to get dodgy.
Yeah.
sounds like a very comfy pajamas.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I was totally obsessed with John Cena. So she bought this for me, and I never wore it actually. I didn't wear it until last year. So because it was autographed, so I was like, oh, I'm never ever gonna wear it. But yeah,
Wait.
so the
Autograph?
yeah, but it came off because I finally decided to wear it like a billion years later.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wait, autograph by John Cena. How did that happen?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I really have no idea. I think it was in the store. I think he may have autographed a few and it went to the store and she bought it for me when she was in the US. So here we go.
Are you sure
Yeah.
your friend didn't just sign it for you and pretend, say, hey, this is John Cena signed, you know?
Hey, maybe, it's possible, but I'm going to hold on to the hope that for a while I was holding his autograph because I loved him so much.
You know what, Young? This reminds me of that TV series, the WWE Hidden Treasures.
Yes.
Where all the wrestlers go and find all these hidden, very valuable items that got lost in some sort of like weird, random alley or random t-shirt shop, and you probably found one of them. So I think that's pretty dope.
It is very dope. So, okay, that's an interesting shirt that you brought up because I was trying to remember, like, okay, Ruck Fools, obviously it is a play on words, like, oh, this would be John Cena, Doctor of Thugonomics era, right? Before the, hustle, loyalty, and respect. So I guess that's a, segue into what we're talking about, the whole Ruthless Aggression era. What was your first memory of watching pro wrestling? Because, okay,
oh my God.
I know a lot of our listeners also started out at the Ruthless Aggression era.
Oh gosh. Okay. Look, my first memory. Oh God. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know whether that specifically fell in the Ruthless Aggression era. It might have been a little bit before, right, Farhan? Yeah. He was my first ever memory because I was so obsessed with him. I don't know why. Like, I just picked this guy. I loved him for whatever reason. And I would just follow him all the time. And it's for that reason that I hated The Rock. I know a lot of people are going to dislike me for saying this because he's one of the most popular wrestlers of all time. But I'm like a loyal person. The people that I love, I will be very loyal to them, and that includes their enemies. So I was not a fan of The Rock.
What version of Stone Cold are we talking about here, though? Is it the the beer swilling, middle finger showing, beat up the boss Stone Cold, or are we talking about slightly later in the 2000s when he actually didn't he turn heel as well? He became a bad guy.
He was a bad guy fighting, representing WCW, fighting against as the Alliance. Do you remember that storyline?
Yeah, I would say that when I loved him was when he was like the whole beer throwing sort of thing, and when he was fighting with Vince McMahon and all of that.
So technically, that means you started your journey in the Attitude Era, which is where that whole character was born and defined that era. Would you say?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to leave it to you all to tell me which eras.
This is very interesting though. So like, what is it about a beer drinking, beer swilling, Texas redneck that appeal to a young Asian girl? Please explain that.
I don't know. Like it was just like the most bizarre choices. Like, okay, there was this like I had this like neighbor at the time, right? And I did not like him because well, he was a boy. He loved The Rock. I don't know whether it's something to do with that or whatever. I have no idea. But maybe I don't know. I just liked his vibe. Like he's very candid. Stone Cold is a very, very candid person.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I really have no explanation because the people that I liked were all like quite diverse. Yeah. Like John Cena and Stone Cold, like, what they have in common, they're big fan favorites, but they're really quite different. I also love Batista and they're all really, really quite different. So I guess it's who the heart goes to. It's like love. Right?
Aw.
Yeah, is it right for me to then say that while Stone Cold kind of ignited that passion, but your love for wrestling was nurtured when it was more to the Ruthless Aggression era when Cena, Batista, and like you say, Eddie Guerrero came on the scene? Is that would it be correct to say that?
Yeah. I think like slowly that's when I started getting really, really obsessed and watching it regularly. So I actually got into WWF because of my big brother. Like we're like nearly 3 years apart, and of course, like as a little sister, I would like follow him in everything that he was doing. We played WWF game on a Sega. Like we never had a PlayStation,
Right.
but we had a Sega, so we would play on that thing. But ironically, he never became as obsessed as I did.
Oh.
Yeah, so that just kind of went on for me, for whatever reason. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So here in Singapore, we used to watch I think WWE on it was called SCV. Is it correct?
It used to be called SCV, and then before that it was just free to air TV like Channel 5 lah. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
In Malaysia, like was it on free to air or was it more on cable? How do you get your WWE fix?
No, I think it was on. Was it on Astro? Gosh, I can't remember.
Actually, I think
can't remember.
I believe Malaysia used to broadcast WWE a lot more because I remember back in the day I would try to see if I can receive the Malaysian channels just to watch some WWE
What?
hit or
Oh my God,
Velocity.
really?
Is it like TV Satu or TV3?
Yeah. And they would once in a while show it. I'm like, oh my God, yes, I found the motherlode, because Channel 5 never really aired the WWE at all or WWF at the time.
Man, I can't remember what it was, but like literally, like I had my routine, man. Every Monday, Tuesday, whenever Raw was big Raw girl, I would come back from school, do my homework. I would take a nap religiously. This was before I developed insomnia, and I could just nap for like an hour.
Right.
And then I'll wake up, do some more homework. It's all about the homework here. And then I would watch wrestling on Monday, Tuesday, and it was always telecast, no issues.
Was it live? Or was it delayed?
No,
it was delayed back
it was
in the day,
definitely
right?
delayed. Yeah, by
Okay,
like
so
a
it
day.
was like an evening time slot over there lah. So
10 o'clock at night. Yeah, so I that's why I had to nap because I was like sleep at 12.
Yeah.
I have to wake up at 5 something for school. So such a good time. Yeah, you all didn't have that? You all didn't have this like late night wrestling kind of thing?
I think we had that. I think back in the day, WWE it was shown like pretty late, like because of the violence, right?
Yeah.
So but we never got like, for me lah personally, I didn't get to see the main shows because I think it was on cable. On free to air, there was always the recap shows, like if you remember WWE Afterburn, WWE Live Wire, Velocity, all those like recap shows. And I think that was what made it palatable for me at that young age lah, because there was a presenter, probably someone like Coach Jonathan Coachman.
Oh God.
Yes, that guy,
Yeah, oh my
right?
God.
And
Yeah.
he will always recap the show beforehand or like explain what's the storyline. So I thought that was the thing that made it interesting or easier for me to follow as a young boy, right?
I see. I wasn't a fan of Coach.
I don't think anyone was a fan of Coach, to be honest.
Yeah.
I want to go back to what you were talking about, how even though you grew up sort of knowing about Stone Cold, but you didn't really fall in love with the product until the Ruthless Aggression era, until your Cenas and Eddie Guerreros and whatnot. I feel like it's the same for a lot of us as well, because, when I grew up watching wrestling, right, it was Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. That's how old I am, by the way. But I didn't really fall in love with it until Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, the next generation. So I feel like a lot of it is because when you're really young, you don't really know what you're watching. You're just kind of, Big Brother is watching. Or for me, it was my dad who was watching, right? But it takes a few years before you're truly invested into the product. I don't know if you were the same, Foreign.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. You're right, because like my first memory was Bret Hart. Okay, so this is like the succession, right? First memory was Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels during the whole Montreal screw job era. Yeah. And then I remember, and I told this story in the podcast, like I think the very first episode, we were walking around Juchak Complex, me and my parents. And then suddenly I saw like there was this DVD or VCD shop, and they always had a TV and they always played wrestling to attract an audience. So do you like remember those days when they always have a TV to show like what's the latest movie that came out on VCD, on DVD, right? And every time there's wrestling, there is always like a bunch of passerbys who will just stop there and stare and just watch wrestling. Yeah, and I remember so clearly. My very first memory was 1998 Capital Carnage. It was a London, UK pay-per-view. So it's like one of those times when they went to UK and they did a pay-per-view, right? And it was so memorable because the main event was Stone Cold versus Undertaker versus Kane versus Mankind. And I can imagine, like, as like I probably was like 8-9 years old, and when I saw all these larger than life characters fighting, and like one guy looks like a demon, one guy looks like Hannibal Lecter, one guy looks like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really imprints on your mind, right? You can't look away. So I begged my dad to buy this thing, and I remember my dad said, "What's this violent thing you want to watch? Are you sure you can watch this? I don't think this is allowed for kids." I was like, "No, but it looks so interesting." So yeah, that really imprinted in my mind. And from there, I was just hooked.
So, I mean, jumping off of that, right, Nadia, what was it about the product in that era that really hooked you? Was it the entertainment, the promos, or the in-ring, athleticism, stuff like that? What was it, do you reckon?
I think it was everything, you know. The characters, I mean, your characters are going to be drawing your audience in, right? In anything, in entertainment and content. And they just had some really, really great characters and really great dramas on the show. Really nice story arcs between the heroes and the villains.
Not all of them were really nice, let's be honest here.
I mean, yeah, there was some questionable acting.
Some didn't age really well.
Some did not age well. Some bad acting, but there were legit good ones too, right? Those are the ones that got you, right?
Yeah. So I would say it was the characters. I mean, how about you all? Like, what was it about those particular eras that made you fall in love?
I think, I mean, it's always brought up. It's soap opera for men, you know? Like,
what? It's even more of a soap opera than the traditional female one.
Exactly. So this is the excuse that we have to watch content like that because, you know, deep down inside, we like the drama, we like the nonsense and the crazy twists and turns, but we don't want to say only. So it has to be presented to us in an athletic way, right? And that's why wrestling is so... I mean, to be fair, I watch Kardashians as well. I've come to appreciate it. Because
I don't know what to say to that. Well, no, Farhan, are you with me?
Yes, I am. I have no idea what's going on.
When the wife watches Too Hot to Handle on Netflix, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll watch. And then after like 2 episodes in, I'm like, oh, okay, so that guy is dating that guy, but she's trying to get into, you know, like you get caught up in all the nonsense, right? And I guess for me, that was what was wrestling. And then along the way, you get to appreciate the athleticism, the moves, who's a good worker and who's not, that kind of thing. Actually, did you ever like, okay, were there wrestlers in your mind that were, okay, this is the really good wrestler, but that guy is the very good promo entertainment guy?
Oh, that's it. So that's a really good question. Oh, okay. I want to start with Batista. Okay. Because I feel that he was like the whole package, like literally the whole package. That guy just had this, you know, it's like, it's all about star power, right? Some people just have this natural, that it factor, that the natural onstage charisma, and he outshone Triple H like that, right? So he was really, really good. JBL was, I hated that guy. I really hated JBL, but he was great for those promos because he just was like the perfect villain because he was so irritating.
Yes.
But no offense, as a wrestler, like I just didn't think he was that particularly special. He was just there with his like basic move and his basic blocks and basic kick. Everything about him was basic. I hope I'm not hated.
No. That's an amazing point. Okay, you guys brought up a great point because you asked about what is it that attracted you, right? About these like characters and all that kind of stuff. And now there's this in the current era, there's a lot of back and forth talk about what actually attracts casual fans to watch wrestling. Is it the ability to like have crazy moves, like highlight real moves, or is it the character? Is it the ability to cut promos, the ability to connect with the audience? And I think a lot of new age fans forget that what makes wrestling so relatable most of the time is actually the stories that they tell.
Are you talking about AEW, bro?
Yes.
Are we talking about?
yes.
Okay. To be fair, and that's the thing on this show, right? I'm like the guy who hates AEW, which is not true. I've given them props. Let me clear that up. Okay. But yeah, what Foreign is referring to is the propensity to have a lot of high-flying acrobatic moves, but you see a lot of them with no charisma or no real storyline. which goes back to sometimes all you need is a good kick, a good punch. But if you have a decent storyline, like a reason, why are these two fighting? Give me a good reason. Give me stakes. That's what people watch for. And
If I want to take it back to the Ruthless Aggression era, and I think Nadia, let me know what's your thoughts on this. Somebody who marries both character work, great character work, and great in-ring work is the guy that you're wearing on your shirt, Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah. Absolutely. He was so charismatic. Although I did not like that arc where he was like, he and Rey Mysterio had that
fighting,
thing.
right?
Do you remember that? And like
Of
he
course.
went to the freaking playground and he
Who's
was
your puppy?
stalking
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio's kid. What was that about?
Okay, Nadia. I'm gonna give you something that might mind blow you if you don't follow the current product.
Oh.
Remember that kid? So his name is Dominic Mysterio, right? That kid is now in WWE and he's wrestling as a tag team together with Rey Mysterio as a father and son duo right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. That's
Let me show you a picture.
beautiful.
There he is right now. Look at him.
Oh wow.
He is taller than his dad now.
The little stalk kid
Yeah.
is now fighting.
Yeah.
He's Dominic Mysterio. Go Google it on your own time.
Okay, I will.
Okay, so the crazy thing is, right, you're talking about that storyline where they fought for the custody of a kid, right?
In a match. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. No, I was literally like in my head, I was just thinking of that weird playground scene. But yeah, you're right. Oh.
It's the whole I'm your puppy. Your puppy. Right?
Yeah. Oh my god. It's so oh my god, this show is so crazy. I love
But that's the thing, like when we were watching it growing up, like we don't break down like, okay, is this realistic? Like how can you fight over a custody of a child over a match? Like how is that real?
Yeah.
But then sometimes that's the best part about wrestling is like you can suspend that disbelief and enjoy the storyline for what it is. Yeah, if it's over the top, it's kind of stupid, but it's so entertaining, right?
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about content in general, right? Any content, there will be different rules, right? So in the newsroom or in a documentary, there will be certain rules and they apply to that. In wrestling, there's a whole different set of rules.
Yes.
It is the craziest universe. It is a universe in which you can have this insane villain and he can do like the worst things. And he rises then and turns into a hero. And then we all suddenly forget all those crazy things. Like that is the WWE. Well, back then, I don't know about it now. Is it still the same now?
Oh yeah, for sure. We've had good guys become bad guys, become good guys. Actually, they were bad guys all along. A lot of it's like being a fan of Marvel or DC, right? Like, you have people redeeming themselves or falling from grace. And a lot of it is also like real life. If you think about it, nobody's just good their entire life or bad their entire life. There are shades of gray. And that's why I think we go back to the whole soap opera analogy. Right, that's probably what we love the most about the WWE or pro wrestling in general. It's the ability to tell these stories. I mean, for goodness sakes, for how many years we had a zombie that could not be defeated, i.e. The Undertaker, right? But of course, when we proceed on to the Ruthless Aggression era, like this is the biker Undertaker era, isn't it for you?
No. He was already the dead man.
Oh, he was still the demon guy, sacrificing people.
Okay, you brought up a very interesting point about suspending disbelief. Do you remember, from your memory, like which storylines that allowed you to suspend disbelief, even though if you think about it, it's really unbelievable, and which one was a bit too far out of reach for your imagination, where you're like, okay, this one is too much already? Do you remember?
There was so many, but okay, so Evolution was one of those really classic groups where they were really evil, right? So there was Triple H, Ric Flair, not a fan, Randy Orton and Batista. Well, you a fan? Why are you looking at me like that? Are you a fan of Ric Flair?
I feel like everybody is a fan of Ric Flair at some point. Given that he is such a good bad guy, it's transcended that level of, okay, now we respect him because he played his character so well.
The fact that that gave such a visceral reaction to you right now, I think that is like a testament to how great he was as a bad guy.
I mean, he just literally, could Triple H win anything on his own?
Oh, there you go. It worked.
He all he does is in that era is just rabbit on and on about how he's the greatest. No one can beat me. Batista sucks, and like he literally can't win anything on his own. But circling back to your question, I would say, okay, since we just spoke about
Yeah.
evolution, right? Like they were quite evil. They were quite evil. Like I remember when I think it was Randy Orton and Batista, they literally electrocuted Gold Dust. Do you remember that?
I
Oh my
remember
God.
that. Oh my god. Yeah, and he started speaking with like a
stutter.
Stutter, right?
Yeah.
With a very questionable stutter.
Yeah.
That oh my
Not
god,
PC
like
at all. Not PC at all.
Nope.
I mean, he should have gotten an Oscar for that. Bless him. I thought Goldust was very interesting. Yeah, but yeah.
To add on to that point, right? Do you know
Yeah.
he actually played that gimmick so like was so dedicated to that role that he even went on a Howard Stern show and he was in character doing the starter for Howard Stern.
Oh really? No, I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Because I think WWE was pretty huge at that point in time where like they had like all these like radio jocks interviewing them on a regular basis.
Right.
And he actually was trying to explain to Howard Stern that this happened. Like he was really completely in character, and Howard Stern called him up where I was saying, aren't you like making fun of like the mentally challenged and all that? He's like, I'm not making fun. I'm like,
Oh my god.
and he did it
no.
right in front of- yeah, it was
Oh,
terrible.
that's so inappropriate.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But yeah, I guess that was the era then, right?
Yeah, but okay, so like when they electrocuted him, right? And then like it I didn't think about it when I was a kid, like young, like what you said earlier, right? You don't think about these things when you're a child. But then when you grow up and you actually rewatch these things as an adult, and then you see like Randy Orton goes on to become some super popular guy, and Batista goes on to be this crowd favorite heavyweight champion. But hello, they literally like in the WWE universe, they electrocuted a guy. So I think in thinking about that, that's one of the things where I'm like, oh my god, I like disbelief that we all were just like, yeah, we love you, even though you almost killed someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, at one point, actually, I don't know if you remember or if this was in that era, but didn't like Vince McMahon have his car explode and then he...
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like, what is the level of suspension of disbelief, right? And he comes back a few weeks later, it's like, oh, I survived. So it's like, okay.
I'm gonna ask you a very controversial question.
Oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So when did you realize that wrestling was scripted?
Oh no, that was the worst. That was the worst experience ever. I think it was after Vince McMahon fired Stone Cold on one of the episodes of Raw. And I was like crying, like, you know, I didn't watch all those romance shows, but I was just like crying. I was like, oh my God, like what's happening? I love Stone Cold. And then I think I may have talked about it to my brother or my dad or my uncle, one of those. And they were like, you know, this is not real, right? You know, this is fake, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, huh? Yeah, I think it was something like that. How about you guys?
I think,
dear
I
gosh.
think for a lot of wrestling fans, the zombie, the Walking Dead man was the dead giveaway. Like, okay, this maybe isn't like 100% real. What we are watching is probably a show, a work, as they call it. But yeah, but for me, it's definitely The Undertaker, the dead man. Like the guy who's controlled by the urn and Paul Bearer back in the day. Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah.
I think, yeah, you're right, man. Young, I think it's definitely Undertaker for me because I remember clearly there was this one match where Vince McMahon fought Undertaker and they had a buried alive match, Survivor Series.
Yeah.
And that was when he was the biker guy, and then he died, right? So also called got buried.
Yeah.
And I was very scared when I was young because remember they had then they started like posting all these promos where he was gonna come back as the dead man and fight Kane at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And he was haunting him and that kind of stuff. And then I was, as a child, I was really scared for Undertaker to come back. I was excited that he was going to come back, but I was scared because I was wondering how he would look like.
Right, like
when
a
he
ghost.
comes back. Will he be a corpse? Will he be like rotting and like... I was very scared.
Really? Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, and then I was thinking to myself like, oh no, are they going to show like a actual murder on TV and like someone coming back to life? Is this like, because you know I'm a Malay guy, right? So I believe in like people coming back from the dead, all this like Pontianak and all that kind of shit. So I was thinking, I remember I went to my late mom and I was asking her, can Pontianak appear on TV?
The end. I love the innocence, by the way.
Yeah, I remember it was such a genuine question that I asked my mom. It's like, can ghosts appear on TV? Like, will they allow ghosts to appear on TV? And then my mom was like, what are you talking about? And then I actually tried to explain the storyline to my mom. I like, there was this one guy I watched on TV.
Wait, how
Then
old
he
were
got-
you?
I was 12. So yeah,
Okay,
I was
okay.
still very innocent at 12. So
Sure.
yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
I tried to explain to her that I watched somebody got buried alive, and I think he died already, but he's coming back in 6 months' time. So he's probably a ghost, right? Yeah, and then
It's so sweet.
yeah, and then my mom was like, you need to stop watching wrestling. I think your mind will be yeah. So yeah, to follow up on that question, so then when your like your family, right, explained to you that it was fake, but what kept you coming back and going though? Like you're like, okay, I don't care that it's fake. I still want to watch it for my entertainment.
I have no idea. I mean, I think I've been watching it all those years already. So it was just like a regular thing. Like I said, I had my whole routine down as a child, and I just couldn't let it go. Like it was just too great. I don't know why. Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting.
unexplainable. It's like love. It's not explainable.
Oh, I like that. It's interesting that some, like, for fans like us, right? I don't know if you feel the same way as well, but as you watch the product evolve over the years, now, like for us, we watch it not just for the storylines, but also like, okay, is this guy a good technical wrestler? Is he good in the ring? Is he putting on a good show? Like, did you ever get to that point, or was it still about, okay, just suspend disbelief? Enjoy it for what it is, as opposed to like critiquing every single move, because there are people out there in the world who will give star ratings. Oh, that match was a 4.5 star, that match was 2.5 star, based on technical ability and stuff like that, taking it to the next level, as it were. Because now that okay, this is what we call a work, or they are pakating to tell a story, right? And was the story well told? Do you ever, or did you ever think about it in that way, or did you just enjoy the product as it is, as, oh, this is entertaining, this is not so entertaining?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely looked at the moves. I'm not sure I got to the point of giving it stars, but you could tell like who was actually really, really good in the ring. So I mean, like, I'll give you another example. Shelton Benjamin.
Great example.
He was great. He was super agile. Like, he may not have been like, this headliner per se, but he was a really good wrestler. Do you all agree with me?
100%. This was when he was with Charlie Haas, right? The world's greatest tag team.
I mean, he was, right, and then he got drafted to Raw, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and then he went on to be like the Intercontinental Champion for like 1,000 years. Yeah, he's very, very agile.
Yeah.
The other one was Tajiri. Like, again, really, really, just the way he kicks, and he what does that guy do? Flying? He's like flying in the ring.
Oh, right.
And he did that tarantula.
Yeah.
At the side of the ring, remember that?
Yeah. So I think, like, okay, John Cena, he's great, but his moves, I don't know if they were
The 5 moves of doom.
Yeah.
Very.
Look, I mean, what was it called? 5 knuckle shuffle.
Yep.
Yes.
It's just not quite the same as the spine buster.
Right.
But he's got this amazing character. Have I answered your question? Yes, I look at things technically. Yeah.
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 So it seems like between John Cena and Batista, am I right to say, are you more of a Batista girl?
Oh no, I like them both equally at that time. It's so hard. So I really loved it when they were both champions at the same time, when they both won at WrestleMania 2005.
2005, yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because another one highlight of the Ruthless Aggression era is the draft. The WWE draft, right?
Right.
And I remember that is something that everyone looks forward to, like which wrestler went to which show. Did you had a particular show that you were more compelled to watch, or any of the, like, you were quite sad if certain wrestlers left a particular show and went to the other one? Tell us your experience about watching the draft.
Yeah, I loved the draft lottery. It was so exciting. It was like, it's like football, right? They have like a similar thing with the transfer window, but this was like the wrestling version. Oh my God, when John Cena was drafted onto Raw, like I just remember like just flipping out. I think this was June, right? 2005.
Yes.
When he just came on and it was Chris Jericho who announced him. That was great. But of course, in the same year, he comes on to Raw. So we had to let a heavyweight champion go,
Yep.
and that was
Yes.
Batista.
Mm.
Oh, that was the worst. Oh, I was not a SmackDown person, but I watched
Oh.
SmackDown because of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was just such a great powerweight. Powerweight is a word, like a
Heavyweight.
powerhouse.
Heavyweight, yeah.
Yeah. And to lose him to SmackDown, I wonder why they did that. Like, were they trying to shake things up because of the ratings, or I don't know.
Well, I
never
think you
looked
just
into it.
explained it to yourself right there, because now you watch SmackDown because you previously didn't watch
Yeah.
SmackDown because Batista wasn't there. So yeah,
Yeah.
they did it to all right, let's freshen things up. Let's bring champions over to get eyeballs on both products.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
interesting point that you brought up. You said you didn't watch SmackDown, you enjoyed Raw more, but
Yeah.
you're also a huge fan of Eddie Guerrero. So explain
Yeah.
that to me.
I don't know. It's all unexplainable. I was clearly a crazy child with
Okay.
no sense of direction in anything in life, including WWE. But I guess Raw was my regular thing,
Mhm.
and then SmackDown. Sometimes I would watch it on Thursday. It's Friday night, right?
Yep.
But for whatever reason, it may have been on a Thursday when it was telecast in Malaysia. I can't
okay.
remember. Yeah. How about you all? Did you watch everything, or was it just one?
I watched everything Raw.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
of course you did.
Yeah. But another thing was because but I was more privy to Raw because Raw always sell VCDs of Raw shows.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys
Okay.
remember this?
Yeah.
So, like they will sell pay-per-views, DVD pay-per-views, VCD of the pay-per-views, but they never had like VCDs of like what happened on SmackDown that particular week.
Mhm.
But Raw, they used to sell compilations. So like Raw from this month, these 4 weeks of the month, like
Yep.
they will have back-to-back shows,
Mm.
and they will sell it together. So I always managed to follow Raw storylines a bit more.
Mm.
So when things happen on SmackDown that I'm not aware, and they like explain it after the fact on Raw, I would be like, oh, this happened. I didn't know that. So
Mhm.
I didn't know that Batista went to SmackDown until like 2 weeks later,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
A bit late. But you're right. The thing about being fans, right, is like you follow or you like a particular wrestler,
Mhm.
but because
Yeah.
they intersect and they intertwine so much that eventually you kind of know what happens on the other brand.
Yeah, exactly. And you threw away all your DVDs and your CDs. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I'm quite
Well,
sad.
I mean-
wait. I need to explain myself. Actually, I did found a particular stash. Like there was this one box because I was like a bit context. I just went back reservice, so I was digging for my army clothes, right? And then I found this one box. I was thinking to myself, like, I've never opened this box before because I had like stacks of boxes stacked all the way up from my previous house.
Mhm.
So I just pulled it out because my dad wrote Fahan stuff.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I opened up, I broke down here. I like for a good half an hour, right? I broke down because I was so happy. I found like a bunch of not all was salvaged, but like, I had like 10%, and it was like really all my favorite DVDs. It wasn't like the pay-per-views, but it was the documentaries.
Mm.
So like I had like Stone Cold's documentary in the DVD format. I had like Bret Hart's, Shawn Michaels, RVD. I think I even had Randy Orton. Like I literally had like I used to do that. I used to collect every single wrestler's autobiography in their DVD format. Yeah, so that was salvaged. But yes, I'm quite sad about the other 90% that I gave away.
Sorry, I'll give you one of mine when I go back.
Sure.
And I'll grab one and I'll give it to you. Yeah.
You
guys-
still have it back in Malaysia?
Yeah, I do.
You
All
guys
of them.
realize all this is on the WWE network already, right?
Yeah, but the DVDs are different, Young.
Why?
Because I saved up my school allowance. Instead of buying lunch, I'll
in
save
meds.
up and buy
Sure.
DVDs. Yeah.
Sure,
So
okay.
yeah, I'll go.
I'll give you
there's-
that.
There is nostalgia and
Yeah.
sentimental value tied to them. I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of sentimental value, can you share with us more about this particular diary that you used to write stuff in about wrestling?
Yeah. Okay, look, there was more than just wrestling. There was, of course, my high school crushes and all of
Sure.
that. So I've taken the
pretty
liberty to cover them up in Post-it notes because I was so scared that you all would see something.
Wait, you brought it all the way to Singapore?
I keep it. So before the interview, I covered everything up because I was
Oh
so
my God.
scared. So this was my diary, I think, from when I was like 14.
Wow.
And
Oh,
that is
wow.
the tissue that can you all see that? Oh my god, I'm so bad. What
Okay,
am I doing?
wait.
Tissue.
Explain
what am
Why
I
that.
doing?
got?
Okay,
Yeah,
can you see?
why got tissue? Yes, we see it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, if I just showed anything terrible on the camera, please block it out. So that was what I cried into when Eddie Guerrero died.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! Wow, you kept the tissue.
Yeah, I stuck it on with
Wow.
sellotape, and I have it's actually my first entry in this book. Wednesday, 16th November, 2005.
Wow.
It was a horrible day.
Yeah.
I'll read you the first line, okay?
Sure.
Really sad. Yesterday night was horrendous. I was watching WWE Raw and I found out that Eddie Guerrero had died.
Wow.
It's very sad. And then
That is a piece of history right there, man.
Yeah. A
I don't
moment captured.
I
in
don't
the
think you all
diary.
want my DNA stuck in my diary from like 1,000 years ago. But yeah, so
But in that moment when you found out about the news, right? Did wrestling change for you? I'd like to think that when, you know, your favorite actors or wrestlers, like these people who are larger than life, superheroes for a lot of us, right? Growing up, when they all of a sudden become human, did it change the way you perceive the business?
actually, that is a really good question because I think it was after his death that I stopped watching wrestling so regularly. Now that I think about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was really like heavy into it, especially in 2004 and 2005. So he you know, he left the planet in late 2005.
Yeah.
And then after that, I stopped watching it regularly. So maybe you're right there. Yeah, you could be right.
Was it just because of like it was just too painful to watch wrestling because, you know, then it's a reminder of this guy's absence, or you just felt like you just didn't want to be too passionate about something that, you know, can lead to someone who you know, like you build up all these emotions about a certain thing that you enjoy, and then to know that it won't be the same as it was back you remember and next year you kind of like stop doing it, or
that's possible because that was quite a difficult era for the WWE because Chris Benoit, you know, he died shortly after that. Probably the most tragic incident to shake the wrestling world, sporting world. So yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of us watched him, and I think a lot of things like quite changed after that. I don't know, did you all have any similar experience during this time?
I think for a lot of us, yeah, we definitely felt the repercussions, like, whoa, you know, like this is a reality, and it sort of lifted the covers a little bit. Okay, what's going on behind the scenes, right? And I think for a lot of us fans who are quote unquote, we like to go and read the rumors and the dirt sheets. It's all out there on the internet. The business is more of an open book than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think to your point, it's like, yes, maybe some people felt like, okay, this was getting a little bit too real. It's like, I watch wrestling for fantasy, soap opera, not real life, right? And this has now become too real. Or for some of us, we peer behind the lens and go, oh, this is a whole new world of politics and who's friends with the boss, who's the outcast, you know? And I think that's like the next level of the onion, as it were, of pro wrestling for people like Foreigner and myself, where we're like, okay, we want to discuss that stuff as well. Oh, this guy was a jerk backstage, but you know, in front of the camera, he's like the best guy, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Who was a jerk backstage and was nice on the camera? Randy Orton?
Oh,
actually,
wow.
yes.
Randy Orton had issues for sure.
He had many issues.
But you can kind of like see it for him because when he played a jerk, it was too accurate,
Too natural.
Oh, yeah, he didn't have to act.
Yeah.
He was.
But he had great star power. I'll give him that.
Of course. Yeah.
And the thing about Randy Orton, I think, and you know that he's wrestling up until today. He's like considered a veteran and like the legend killer became the legend, I guess.
Right.
One thing great about Randy Orton was when you talk about a natural, I think even me when I was a young guy, right, I always liked Randy Orton over John Cena because I felt like Randy.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
I don't. This is a controversial hot take, I guess.
Okay.
But if you remember, I don't know whether you played video games later on, but there was this one series of games called SmackDown versus Raw. Do you remember this?
I didn't have any game like PlayStation, but tell us.
Yes, so the games there was like SmackDown, Just Bring It, SmackDown, Know Your Role, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, and then in 2004, they decided to get rid of the SmackDown series and created a SmackDown versus Raw, because this was Ruthless Aggression and they wanted to like build up this whole SmackDown versus Raw supremacy kind of thing. And in the promo package for the video, so they had like a video intro, right, at the start of the game. They talk about the future, and when they talk about the future, they showed Randy Orton as the future of Raw and John Cena as the future of SmackDown. And they turned around and they had this face to face in their video game form lah. And it was like so mind blowing for me, because at that point in time, John Cena and Randy Orton never touched before.
Yep.
And I like Randy Orton more than John Cena, because John Cena felt a bit like, doesn't feel like a wrestler.
Like a bit hip hop.
Yeah, he felt like this.
A bit like, you know.
He felt like a rapper trying to cosplay as a wrestler, where where Randy Orton felt more like a natural, like how a wrestler would look. Right. And he was, even then when I was at that age, I noticed how smooth he was in the ring.
Yeah.
When he was doing when he was doing the RKO. How he like executed his moves so smoothly. And I remember when I was young, I used to do his pose all the time to annoy my friends, you know. Or when I was playing football, every time I score a goal, I would do that stupid pose.
Oh my god, you're so lame. Sorry.
I know.
I was
You
gonna
got
say
called
you're so
out.
cute, but like
You got called out, dude.
It's okay.
Nadia, when I ask my girlfriend to describe how I am, right, what's the favorite quality about me? She says that I love the fact that you're lame. So
Okay. So
now
lame
I
in a
learn
good
to
way.
embrace it.
Okay, I'm lame too. Look at my diary. So like we're all lame here. Carry on, please.
Yeah, I think most of the reason why we're watching wrestling is because all quite lame people. But anyway, so I think one thing I like about that era, Ruthless Aggression era, was that it was a changing of the guard for WWE. You had the new stars coming through, and they kind of let us out of the post-Rock, post-Stone Cold era. And when the Ruthless Aggression era, I think, ended, was with Chris Benoit. And when Eddie left us, I think that's when the business changed. If you didn't follow the product, WWE turned to a PG product.
Well, in those years, that's also because they became a publicly traded company. So with shareholders you have to answer to, all of a sudden the entire product has to change, right? You can't have controversial storylines. You can't have, unacceptable behavior on camera. So the product, and this is what we call the PG era, which is, I think, in wrestling history, the least favorite era of any wrestling fan. Because you go from this attitude era, which is no holds barred, all about rebellion and, just outrageous stuff. And then the Ruthless Aggression was sort of like that trickle down. You still had a little bit of it. And then you went straight PG. Like everyone was goody two shoes. Hey, I'm a good guy. Hey, I'm a bad guy. I don't like your face. Let's fight. Yeah, okay, there's no longer that like epic twists and turns and salaciousness that we associate with pro wrestling.
Right.
Was it hard for you to like reckon with the fact on like because like for us kids, right, one of the reasons why our parents don't let us watch WWE was because there was too much violence, there was too much sexual content and all those kind of stuff that it was very hard for us to navigate as a kid or even understand at that point in time. Like, was it hard for you? Did you realize early on like maybe the sex, they were pushing it too much far the envelope, or it didn't register to you?
I don't think a lot of us realized how bad some of the content we were watching was until like now. It's like, all the movements that have been coming up. And it's not just WWE. It's the pop stars, the this and the that. Well, no, I did not.
If anything, the WWE is a reflection of society, right? The whole Attitude Era came about because in the US, in American society anyway, there was this wave of rebellion, fighting against the authority. Standing up against the boss. And then on MTV side, you had Jackass, you had, shows like that were becoming ultra popular and becoming the norm. So, I mean, all WWE is a reflection of what is going on in the real world. Because let's face it, if it wasn't, then people would not have gravitated towards that content. The only reason why people wanted that sort of a character was because, we're seeing this all over the world. Like, this is the current vibe, as it were, right? Like, I feel like I got a bit lucky because I'm slightly older. By the time the Attitude Era, by the time the raunchiness went up, I was already like in my, past my teens already, early 20s, maybe late teens. So I didn't have to worry about my parents going, what are you watching? Like I know for you, foreign, like you could be just watching a wrestling match, and then all of a sudden some super sus segment, comes on TV, and that's when your parents will walk in, right?
Oh my god. Okay. Nadia, don't judge me, Nadia.
Oh
But-
no.
Oh no, what are you gonna say?
Do you really
No.
want to share this?
No.
Yeah, I'm
It's-
quite
it's-
scared.
It's not as bad as you think, but it's just that it's a very. When we talk about sus stuff, right? I can give you an example of it.
Okay.
So my family growing up, we were relatively religious. So like I will have to do my prayers, night prayers, evening prayers, and all that. So I remember I was doing my prayers, and then it was like 10 plus lah.
Yeah.
So like I thought my parents is asleep. So usually my TV was always at the living room, right?
Yeah.
So I can't hide, I can't hide in my room and watch it. So I have to watch wrestling like in the middle of the night. I'll wait for my parents to close their door, and I'll sneak out at
Oh,
like
this
11
is so
o'clock.
dodgy already.
Yeah, and then I'll watch my like wrestling show like on TV, right? Free to air, right? And then I was still wearing my kain lah, like when you pray, you wear like your cloth,
Right.
to cover your aurat, right? So I was still in my like so-called traditional religious gear, and I was watching like when I opened the TV, it was like Tori Wilson versus Sabre.
Oh dear.
And Stacey
no.
Keebler, and doing all their bra and panty stuff, and I was just like watching, okay, normal. Then with my Milo and like normal. Then my dad will come out to go to the toilet. Then he was like, Farhan, you read your Quran already? Then I was like, yeah. Then I was like, I try to lower the volume. And then, oh my god, I remember my dad.
That is the law of the universe. Your parents will never come out when you're watching an athletic competition between two great athletes. No, they'll only come out when it's something that's like super dodgy.
Okay, how am I to explain to my dad?
You can't.
That,
It
like-
is what it is.
you know the exact scene. Okay, I will tell you the exact scene that happened. So
Oh
there
God.
was
Do we really need to know
Is
the
it
exact
still
scene?
going on? We're
No,
supposed to talk about this?
no, this is why there is a reason for it. Right?
Okay, all
So
right.
it was that I think it was the scene where Vince McMahon just hired Tori Wilson,
Oh.
and he spent the whole night trying to hit on Tori Wilson, and then the ending was Linda McMahon catching him in the act.
Yeah.
So there was like a comeuppance right at the end.
Yeah, the payoff.
Yeah, but then the thing is, my dad walked out at the exact part where Vince McMahon was kissing Tori Wilson against the wall.
Yeah.
Then my dad was,
What
"What are you watching?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, wait, Abba, he will get his comeuppance. Like something's bad's gonna happen to him. I was trying to explain to my
He's not sticking around to watch the rest of this filth, Farhan. He's
I'm
not.
not gonna ask my dad
Okay.
to like sit with me and watch the end, right?
Yeah,
And then
got
I was
lesson. There's a moral end at the end one. Like he's like, no, I'm not gonna bother with this.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it was hard for us to like reckon with, and like
Yeah.
you said, like wrestling is a reflection of society, and Nadia, like right now, like WWE has a huge presence for the women's division. Like it's actually one of the selling points of WWE right now, because the female wrestlers are definitely treated more seriously as athletes.
Yeah.
They've actually main invented WrestleMania when Ronda Rousey was in WWE just a couple of years back. Do you remember like your thoughts on like Lita and Trish Stratus? Like, did you still like looked up to them during the era? Because I remember Lita had a lot of female fans as well.
I did like Lita for some time before she went on that crazy love triangle
Oh,
with
God.
Oh, my
Edge, who I
Actually,
who I
speaking
hated.
of
So yeah.
speaking
sorry.
of that, by the way, I'm interested, right? Did you think it was real or did you think it was a script?
I thought her love with Matt Hardy was real. Yeah, Edge, I wasn't sure, but Matt Hardy, I thought that was like legit.
Because for us, like internet nerds, right, we know that this was an actual like real life betrayal, in that she was actually dating Matt Hardy. That is real, yes. And
oh yeah,
then,
that was real.
Yeah,
it was real. Okay, yeah, yeah.
And then she cheated on Matt with Edge, and that was real. But then they incorporated that storyline into the on-screen stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's quite terrible.
So the crazy thing is, like for me, was thinking that how was Matt professional enough, or all three of them professional enough to
work.
still continue the storyline and work together even
Correct.
after what happened.
No, it happens. I mean, even in Hollywood,
Yeah.
even in all your TVCs, it happens. But yeah, I mean, Lita, she was quite great, you know, like in my eyes before all of that. But I would have to say, due to, you know, what we've discussed, like females weren't really portrayed in the same way as the males. So a lot of my role models were actually the males instead of the
Yeah.
females at
Right.
the time. Yeah.
Speaking of the wrestlers that you didn't really like, I actually find it very interesting because you brought up Ric Flair, you brought up Edge. Why didn't you like them? And which other wrestlers were you like, when you see them? Was it because they played a bad guy really well? Like, if you look back on it in hindsight, okay, it's not like I didn't like them because I didn't like them. It was just that I didn't like them because they played a character that was very, nasty or bad.
I love this question. Let me just get my long list of people that I hate. No, I'm just
Oh my
kidding.
God.
It's all in my head.
Right.
Okay, let me rattle off who I hate.
Sure.
JBL, Edge. What was he screaming about when he entered the ring? Like, he had so much energy. He would come in like he's jumping on it's like trampolines under his feet. He's like jumping and he's like screaming. Like, what do they all scream about? I've always wondered. The other one was Val Venus. I didn't hate Val Venus, but I always wondered, what is he screaming about when he enters the ring? He's always like, you see their mouth moving. And, was it because they were portrayed as bad guys really well? I think some of them, but as we all know in WWE, they move so quickly from bad to good to bad. Shawn Michaels, everybody loved him, but I was like, meh. I don't know.
That's a very interesting, because like Shawn Michaels, he's one of those guys who started out as a young prodigy, but he was hated backstage because he was a bit of a self-entitled jerk.
A diva.
Right.
He was he was an absolute diva, right? But he revolutionized the industry in that he was one of the first small guys to actually make it big. Like, back in the 80s and early 90s, it was about the big muscular guys.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first few like really lightweights to actually, get to that top level. So he revolutionized things. And I think there's that level of respect that a lot of people have for him as well. But it's interesting to hear you talk about him in sort of that way that, what is your memory of Shawn Michaels in his character? Was he a bad guy or a good guy then? Because in the in the 2000s, I feel like he was a good guy already.
Yeah, he had a bit of like here and there, like he went like a bit crazy or whatever, but I don't know, I just never really connected to him. Like, okay, so for me, I'm very, very much like heart on my sleeve. Maybe that's why I love Eddie Guerrero so much. In football, I really appreciate Iker Casillas because, heart on his sleeve, that kind of thing. And I just couldn't connect with him. I just thought he was meh. Like, and the other one was The Rock.
Right.
Like I said, it wasn't just that he was an enemy of Stone Cold. I just,
he was too arrogant, too flippant,
too Hollywood already, is
too
it?
cool, trying to play it cool. Is that why?
I just couldn't connect with him. But it's funny. And Farhan, this was when you realized that I liked wrestling. So I think this was some time last year when I was like posting, right, on my Insta stories. And I was talking about like, as an adult, I've been in this industry for years where I actually appear on camera. And actually, I've been on camera since I was 11, right? Because I started studying drama. But now as an adult, when I really, really appreciate star and stage presence. So I was rewatching some of these Rock clips and the way he enters the stage and commands the crowd, even though I'm not a fan, I just have to hand it to him. Like, you know what I mean? So
that's very cool.
I think it's just a mixture. Some of them were really terrible on screen, like JBL, like as in terrible characters. And some of them is just not a connection. I don't know whether you all haven't had a connection with.
You brought up another, because you sent like a list to me beforehand. People you didn't like, right?
Yeah.
You want to rattle off 2 more names that you didn't mention so far.
Oh, yay.
So why didn't you like Christian?
Okay, look, I know he could wrestle, but I just don't like these guys who can't do anything by themselves. I mean, like, look, in life we got to chart our own path. Christian, he literally like, I can't do anything. Like, let me just get Tyson Tomko. Triple H, I'm the best wrestler in the business. I want to own Raw. I own Raw, and Raw. I'm the god of Raw. But hey, I need Ric Flair. I need Randy Orton. I need Evolution to come and back me up.
They used to call that the reign of terror. Triple H's reign of terror. That's what people.
I mean, he wasn't very terrorizing, if you ask me. But I have to say, Triple H, pretty agile guy. He had some high kicks. Like he's a tough guy. He's brute force, but his kicks were quite good.
Are you talking about his kick to the gut before he does his pedigree?
Oh yeah, his kick.
The high knee.
I was kind of thinking more of his kick to the neck, but also to the gut. I'm sure sometimes knowing Triple H,
that
are you
flying
talking
knee.
about
Is that
his
flying knee?
It's the flying knee, right?
Yeah, something like that. Like that guy can move.
Yeah.
Like he is agile, not like JBL. JBL is not agile.
JBL.
What was the second name you wanted to rattle off?
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. I want to get your hot take on this. Why didn't you like Jim Ross, JR?
The voice
I'm
of
sorry.
wrestling.
I wrote wrongly. I didn't like Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who is the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
guy in the JR equation? So why did you not like the King?
He just talked about irrelevant things. I didn't like the way that he
His recycled jokes.
No, but like every time a woman comes on screen,
Yeah, that too.
literally, what is he ever talking about? Their body.
Yeah.
It's like okay. So wasn't a fan of that, and of course, JR always liked the good guys and Jerry the King Lawler. I'm sure he's a legend, blah 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 blah. But we all know who he supported. Yeah.
Got it.
And Triple H. I mean, did you all like Triple H?
I was never
so
a fan
annoying.
of Triple H, to be honest, but not because he was annoying. Like, I didn't like him because it's like why I don't like Cody right now. Actually,
Okay.
Yeah.
Foreign, you know what I'm talking about.
For context, Cody Rhodes is the son of Dusty Rhodes. You know who's Dusty Rhodes?
Yeah.
The American Dream. So Cody Rhodes was the son of Dusty Rhodes, and he used to be in Randy Orton's group called Legacy. But he left WWE, and now he's one of the 4 founders of AEW, All Elite Wrestling, which is like the rival company to WWE right now. But the problem is, right, he was never the biggest star in wrestling. Most of his fame come from his name, but he acts in our, I don't know whether you know this what we call world. He very shock sendiri.
Oh, okay.
He's very in his own way. So he will cut this long, winding drama mama promos where he's like talking about how he come from this family background and how you support me, blah blah. He will always cry in his promos. We will always talk about. We will count a number of times he will just cry for no reason. So this is why Young doesn't like Cody, and it's similar to Triple H in a way.
Yeah, it's that air of self-importance where he's taking up way too much time, thinking like what he's doing right now is so important. Actually, I'm like, okay, let's move on. Like, I'm done with this. Thank you very much. So that was my issue with Triple H back then. But of course, we know now that Triple H he's actually the head of NXT, which is their developmental talent. So he's actually grooming the new generation.
Right.
Which was very funny because a lot of people used to say back in those days that Triple H always kept holding talent down.
Yeah. Well,
because
okay.
Yeah.
But obviously all these are just rumors. Like, you know how it is in any industry. There will always be people who push harder, work harder, but then others will be like, hey, they see the success. He pushing people down. Same with John Cena, same with The Rock. They've all been labeled like, oh, they've been holding talent down. Have they? Or have they just worked so hard and put in more hours, more hustle instead of you guys? Like, Triple H is known for never going out drinking. He doesn't drink. So, because he wants to keep his body, fit and in tip-top shape, right? So I feel like, okay, there's a little bit of, a bit of professional jealousy, but maybe there's a little bit of truth there as well.
One thing I respect about Triple H was that he really was a student of the game. And that's why JR called him the cerebral assassin, because he has been known to always be the guy that always stays after a show to like watch tapes, discuss with Vince McMahon how to make the show better. And a lot of the younger guys and like Batista and Randy Orton, like even though they went under his wing as Evolution, it wasn't just storyline. Like that was really, they wrote together and they probably learned and absorbed a lot about the business through Triple H and Ric Flair. But what I hated about Triple H, in my opinion, was that Triple H was never the number one guy. He was always the number one heel, yes, but I felt like he was always the guy that worked with the number one guy. So like what made Triple H at that point in time successful was because I always remember when I was young, Stone Cold always beat his ass every single time he always got owned by Stone Cold. And The Rock never failed to like beat up Triple H. So he's always that guy that gets beaten up, and he does a good job getting beaten up. But like I would never like pay a ticket to like, oh, if Triple H is the main event, I don't really care. But is he fighting The Rock? Oh yeah, okay. I don't mind watching that main event. So I think Triple H was never the guy, and I think when he became the guy on Raw, that was when Raw got boring to me.
Oh, okay. But okay. So I'm gonna weigh in here, and I'm gonna say, even though like Triple H frustrated me because he could never get a clean win, or okay, he a lot of his wins were not clean. Maybe he could never is a bit of a stretch. I could never hate him. I think there's something about him, again, like I said, that on camera presence, and he also has that build, right?
Yeah.
Lean, and at the same time he's very buff. So I don't know, I couldn't hate the guy.
Did anyone that you knew of, or even you yourself, was guilty of doing his water entrance, the
Spitting the water.
Oh no, I don't know, actually. I've never tried it. I feel like I will go do that after this interview. Maybe not now. I don't want to kill my computer. Have you all tried that before?
Yeah, of course.
All
Every
the time.
wrestling
Oh my God,
fan
what am I
has.
missing out?
Either that or doing the suck it gestures.
Oh yeah, of course, the DX stuff, right?
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah, DX. Oh God, that was funny. Yeah.
Talking about like Triple H Evolution, what else? Which other characters really stood out to you? Maybe in terms of the presentation, like who was always a wow factor for you? Like, okay, I'm just looking at the era. I'm thinking, because we haven't brought him up, Brock Lesnar. Did Brock Lesnar impress? Ooh,
Interesting.
yeah, interesting reaction right here.
I feel like he really had this kind of like high potential thing going on, right? When he first came out, very, very popular. He had that build.
Yeah.
I keep talking about build, but he really did. But then what happened? He just what happened after that? Like, I don't feel like
he went on to MMA.
Yeah.
He became UFC champion. Then he came back and he just destroyed everybody. So now, I mean, hindsight, I guess. But yeah, like he was never a charisma guy, to be fair. He was like that big, like they called him the next big thing, right? And they tried to push him like crazy. And I think people did get behind him for a big period. But then there was the whole thing where he wanted to leave to pursue football. And then we all remember the WrestleMania with Goldberg.
Yeah. Goldberg is another one, I think, similar situation to him. Again, that very, very great like that push. Yeah. Well, I actually, I don't know if I would say Brock Lesnar, for me personally, had that it factor. But Goldberg, I think, his entrance was great. Like you really, I really was quite scared at this thing coming out, and from
Breathing out smoke.
Yeah.
like, and from like what was it, the
backstage, right?
Yeah, the backstage,
Yeah.
the locker room, and he like comes out, and his spear is so strong. Did you all have any favorite entrances out of curiosity?
Well, over the years, wow, there have been a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
but
had to name top three.
something I wanted to point out about Goldberg, because you mentioned Goldberg. Yeah, Goldberg, for a casual fan, right? Like he is very intense, and people bought into that hype of Goldberg. But do you like him for that, or do you think like at the end of the day when you saw him in the ring, he was like, okay he only got 2 moves, he only can do spear or jackhammer?
My brother was a fan of Goldberg, but I again never really connected to him, because I think he started off really well, but maybe at that particular time when I was watching it, he didn't really leave much of a strong footprint.
Okay.
Not in the same way that your John Cena's and even Randy Orton. Like I said, he was good for like a period of time, right? He had something about him that worked really well. Like even him, I feel, was like he resonated a little bit more with me than Goldberg. Do you feel the same way since you were a fan?
I think what it is, just from hearing you talk about it, right? Because Goldberg was a WCW product, and I don't think you ever watched WCW, right?
No.
Yeah. Well, neither did I. That's why I don't connect to Goldberg. I don't connect to Sting, even though they are legends from that era. So you're talking about a character that has all this history, but you've never watched this history before.
Right, yeah.
You've never lived that history before. So you're like, oh, okay. I mean, he looks cool. He looks impressive. But, and at that time, during the Ruthless Aggression era, he was like a celebrity. Like, they bring him in for a few months, and then he goes and does other stuff, right? He was an
The reason-
attraction. Yeah.
The reason why it's relevant is because if you didn't know, Nadia,
Oh God.
next week's SummerSlam,
He's
SummerSlam is happening in next week. So
Right.
if you want to watch the WWE Network, you feel free to do so. Because one of the main events is, you won't believe it, but Goldberg is still on the main event.
You mean
Oh, that's
Oldberg?
fantastic. Yeah, that's
But you have to understand that he's currently 54 years old.
Oldberg, yeah, there you go.
So there's two main events.
That's
So
amazing.
The
yeah.
main one of the big main events, the blockbuster all of us are looking forward to, is John Cena versus Roman Reigns for one of the titles. But then on the Raw side, Goldberg just came out of retirement randomly to challenge Bobby Lashley. I don't know whether you remember Bobby Lashley.
I do.
Yes, he's the champion right now. He's the WWE champion on Raw. So a lot of people are complaining because Goldberg, to be fair, was very popular and famous back in 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now he's kind of like really way past his prime. Nobody wants to see him come back. And
Oh.
he's kind of, he has been found out because like he wasn't really a good wrestler to begin with. He was just a spear guy, just a jackhammer guy. And like people are like, we've seen this so many times. So like now you're coming back to take up the space from all the younger talents. So I think there's a lot of so-called hate for Goldberg at this point in time. So it's very interesting when you brought up how he was, like how he never connected with you back in Ruthless Aggression era. Imagine how he is 20 years later with
Yeah.
everything that's coming.
Yeah. I mean, but Young, I just want to circle back to something that you mentioned, right? Which is that, we didn't watch certain shows or programs and we couldn't connect with certain wrestlers. But I think Chris Benoit was another example, right? He had his history in different areas of the business.
WCW, yeah.
Yeah. So, but he was somebody who really, really resonated very well with the audience, and yet he wasn't somebody who, had all these big sexy entrances or whatever. He was just pretty much clean cut, straight to the point, that sort of thing. So I think it boils down to several other factors as well. Yeah.
Well, as always, I feel like the cream eventually will rise to the top no matter where they started their journey from. Like, I mean, there have been a lot of WCW guys that became WWE mainstays, like your Chris Jericho, Big Show,
Booker T.
Booker T. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, speaking
Booker
of
T, yeah.
Booker T, five-time WCW champion, Spinaroonie.
He's great. Yeah.
I guess during the Ruthless Aggression, he would have been King Booker. Do you remember the King
Oh
Booker
my God,
stuff?
so annoying. Yeah. but so good before that. Before he became evil, right? He was him and his Spinaroonie and his entrance music.
Yeah.
And Shelton Benjamin's entrance music. Oh, that gets me going. Like,
Ain't no stopping me now.
No.
yeah. That's really
Oh my
good.
God.
Farhan, like, you should sing that
Oh, no.
and send it to him and let him walk to it from now
Oh
on.
dear God.
Such a throwback.
One more person. I think none of us mentioned. I'm very surprised that this didn't come in a conversation so far.
Okay.
I want to know what's your thoughts on Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah.
You remember
What?
Kurt Angle? Why are you?
What
Are you
is
blushing?
what is up
I
with
didn't
that?
like him. I was so
Oh.
upset to find out that he shares my birthday.
Really?
Yeah, but I appreciate him as an adult. As a child, I really wasn't quite a fan.
Yeah.
But okay, so my birthday is 7/9, which is the same birthday as Kurt Angle.
Okay,
When I
cool.
found out, I was not very happy at the time. But okay, I think that he is very talented, very agile, yet very strong.
Yep.
So he is the full package in terms of his moves. I fear the ankle lock. It genuinely looks painful. It's a fuss-free move, but that one's gonna hurt. Have you tried it, Farhan? If not, we can give it a go.
Tried it.
To see.
I from first-hand experience, and not on me, thank goodness, right? But okay, when Kurt Angle was a thing, this was during my college days. They had the "Don't try this at home" trailers that would run, right? So these two idiots in my dorm, when I was living in Canada, they were playing around, horsing around. One fella put the other fella in the ankle lock, broke the ankle. Okay.
Oh,
Holy
no.
shit.
Yeah. So dude had to walk around in a cast, and
Were you there? You
well, I didn't see
happen?
it. I heard about what happened,
Okay.
and every time the guy walks by, I'm like, "Don't try this at home, bro." Like.
Oh dear God.
Yeah.
So it really does work, the ankle
The ankle,
lock.
legit.
Yeah.
Legit.
Don't try this at home. Whoever's watching this,
Don't
hearing
try.
this, do not try this at home. But Kurt Angle, right? Okay, you all think about it. He literally had to walk into an entrance and perform his his profession
Yep.
and have everybody chant at him and go, "You suck." I know later on he gave an interview and he said he saw this as a form of respect,
Yep.
right, from
Yeah.
his fans. But can you imagine the level of mental capacity to be able to translate and transform that into something good? I mean, could you all get on with your work every day if someone's going, "You suck,"
Well,
every like 5 seconds?
If your work is to be hated, is to be the bad guy, then yeah, I guess he would take it as all right, they're buying into what I'm selling. I'm doing a good job.
And you have to understand, this is the guy that won the Olympics with a broken
know.
freaking neck.
Yeah,
Exactly, which is why I think it's amazing, because like to be able to do that, to go in the ring and just have that level of class and athleticism and have everyone going, "You suck." I just think he's so talented. I think 14-year-old Nadia wouldn't be happy that I'm saying this, but here we are. What do you all like Kurt Angle?
Kurt Angle's one of my favorite
Of course.
of all time. Yeah.
I got an interesting story to share about Kurt Angle, and I think this is very relevant to what you said, because Kurt Angle has been acknowledged as having one of the best rookie years in wrestling. He took to pro wrestling like a duck to water. Like he was such a natural.
Yeah,
And there was this one story that he talked about when he first got called up to WWE, and Vince McMahon said that he's gonna make him a heel, a bad guy. And he said in the interview, when he found out, he was like against it. He was like, "I'm an American hero, like legitimately just came back from the Olympics. I have this gold medal. Shouldn't I be treated like a national hero?" Then he said, no, you should cut all this like very pro-American, like pro-values thing. You will make the perfect heel. And he didn't get that, because he was like, "What? That doesn't make sense, right?" And then so Vince McMahon asked him to try it out. So he did it. So he won a match, and he acted like a perfect good guy. He waved to the crowd. He did all this thing, and he cut a promo talking about he had the 3 eyes. Remember, intelligence, intensity, all that kind of stuff. And every single time he said a sentence, the crowd kept booing louder and louder and louder, and he didn't understand. And then when he went to the backstage, he was like, "You're right, they hated it, but I don't get it, why?" And then he was saying, "No, that's perfect. That is like the perfect heel sheet, because that was that era. People didn't like this cookie cutter, goody two shoes character. So the more he kept talking about his positive attributes, the more hated he was." And I think that was the thing that switched in his mind. And he said in the interview, that was when he realized, okay, this is the psychology of wrestling.
Yeah.
You got to play to the crowd. Sometimes if you double down, it will make them boo or react even louder. And for him to get that as like an athlete who never watched wrestling beforehand,
Yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah. You can tell he's got a lot of mental strength. I mean, you have to, right, to be an Olympic champion.
Yeah. Do you remember his entertaining side though? Like all his backstage promos. Do you remember that?
Not that much actually, because so I think he was drafted to Raw, right?
Yes.
In
he was.
2005 as well.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was.
So a lot of the ones before, I didn't really watch SmackDown that much.
Okay.
Yeah, but why? What did he do? What was the crazy things that he did?
Oh my God, Young. Where do we start?
I think, what made a lot of us sort of respect and fall in love with Kurt more is the fact that we know of his accomplishments, Olympic gold medalist, what he can do in the ring, right? No question about that.
Legitimate guy.
Yeah, legitimate guy. But then it's in the later years where he started doing these comedy skits where he would act a fool, basically, have people make fun of him, and he act blur, like, oh, what, for the sake of the audience. I think a lot of people appreciated that. Looking back in hindsight, it's like, this guy he's a legit American hero, but he's totally fine with being portrayed as an idiot. He's singing, playing guitar, but sounding like crap, right? But he's doing it with such glee. It's like, okay, he's fully embracing it. And just looking back, it's like, okay, I can respect that.
He had that hair versus hair match with Edge.
Yeah.
And when he lost his hair, he kept hiding it for a couple of months. He kept wearing that wig.
Yeah. It's
so, yeah.
To me, it's that you see that progression of when he first started, he took himself way too serious, like I'm an Olympic hero, right? To the point where he finally he got the game. He understood the performance aspect of it, and he was like, you know what? Yeah, make fun of me. It's fine. I want you to make fun of me. I want you to say that I suck. So that to me, earns a whole ton of respect, that he doesn't take himself so seriously, even though he knows he's a legit athlete with legit skills.
Yeah. Speaking of skill, like I'm just so curious, like what were your favorite finishers?
Oh,
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting topic. I think.
that's a whole
absolutely,
other podcast altogether. Yo.
Itching to find out.
Okay, I mean, I think let's go round robin, like one by one. Let's say what's our favorite finishes. Young, please.
Wow, well, this is like you can't put someone on the spot immediately, and like how many finishes have they been through the
Okay, fine.
decades?
I'll start. You know what? I actually really love the people's elbow.
Oh God.
As a kid,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't realize how stupid it was after
Yeah.
the fact. But I just love the showmanship of the people's elbow. You know, do you guys remember this one particular shot that WWE always does? Every time The Rock like does the spine buster and then he turns around, he looks out into the audience,
Yeah.
and then the camera pans out, zooms out,
Yeah.
and you can see how huge the audience is. And then back in the day, there was cameras and flashing lights, right? It just felt so epic. Like before he was about to do the elbow, and he haven't even done anything yet. It's just him staring into the crowd. So I thought like that was just amazing. Like no one can kick out of the people's elbow, but obviously, like actually everyone can lah. Even I can.
Okay.
We'll have to test that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I will base my move based on believability, based on
Okay.
How about got criteria?
yeah, must have criteria lah. You know, believability, like this could work. The usability, it can be used on anybody, small or big, right?
Sure.
There's some moves like you got to lift them up. You can't do it to the Big Show. You know what I mean?
No.
So it has to be usable, and it has to be sudden, and it has to be out of nowhere. Can you guess where I'm going with this? And it's
Of
now
course.
a meme. It has to be the RKO, best finisher of all time, RKO, because you can literally pull it out of nowhere. It's like that sudden pop. Oh, end of the match, boom.
Impressive, Mr. Young. Very interesting. I didn't expect that from you, but yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. It's actually funny that you should say wasn't expecting, because that's what frustrated me about Sweet Chin music, because
Yes.
that whole leg tapping thing, and I'm like, come on, the other person, like he knows you're gonna kick him on the neck,
On the face,
for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I get that.
that is not your favorite, I assume.
Well, to be fair, if you watch Shawn Michaels' history of matches, right, there have been moments where he's pulled it off like out of the blue.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. But then, like in most of the matches, to rile up the crowd,
You would stomp.
he's gonna be stamping on the ring, and
Yes.
does the other person really not know it's coming?
Yeah.
Like, come on. But RK, I wasn't expecting that. You're right. Come to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why the Stone Cold Stunner was also so, because it's a similar move, right? But there's an extra setup. There's the kick to the gut followed by the stunner. Whereas with the RKO, it's like bam, you just grab the head and go down, and it's believable even on a big guy because you don't have to lift the Big Show. I always use Big Show as the template
The
lah.
gauge.
Oh,
like-
poor Big Show.
Yeah, no, because like for example, the rock bottom. Like to me, it doesn't seem believable that you could like put your hand around him, lift him up. Like okay, obviously Big Show
Too
has to
many
jump.
moves, too many moves.
The setup
Yeah.
is not believable already. But if you're talking about something that bam, you can nail out of nowhere, boom, RKO. Nadia, what about
if
yours?
you talk about unbelievable, then is people's elbow the most unbelievable
Oh, yeah.
finishing move ever.
It's an elbow drop lah, for goodness sakes. But yeah, Nadia, what about you? As far as finishing moves are concerned.
Wait, can I just ask, so does that mean that the pedigree frustrates you? Because I'm always just wondering, he gets the guy's head, he puts it between his legs, and then they hook
Yeah.
his knee.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you all not hook his knee?
No,
Don't help him pedigree you.
he doesn't, because that's why he wraps
He hooks the arm.
double underhook.
They hook his knee.
Oh no, they can't because he does the double underhook, right? So the I don't believe I have to. I'm doing this right now. But
Really? Okay.
they are in this position, right? They can't really touch the knee because he hooks the arms.
But do they not clamp his knee? I
No,
always see
no.
that. Have I been seeing the wrong thing?
Or are you talking about the power bomb? Because that's what they do. So
No, the pedigree. So
No, the
okay,
pedi-
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do what you just did. So here
Please
is
don't.
Triple H.
Yeah.
Okay, sure,
or maybe
sure.
we'll find a picture. Okay.
Yeah.
Come. Okay.
Wow, show and tell.
Pedigree.
Okay, triple. Okay, but whilst I find this picture, I'll tell you all what I like. I actually really like the submission moves.
Okay.
Wow.
There was something about them that I just I just really enjoyed because it was always kind of like that was really a test of willpower and the ability to kind of stand great pain.
Mm-hmm.
There are many Walls of Jericho I feel looks really painful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I really like the Batista bomb. Look, I don't know if it falls under your believable criteria, Young.
I mean, if Batista's the one doing it, I think it's
It's
fairly
believable because he's a powerhouse. So that's the pedigree, right? As you see, he hooks the arms. So there's no way, like the whole reason he hooks the arms is to make sure the guy drops to their face.
on their face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but then what's this? What's this where sometimes they clutch?
Oh,
move it to the left
setup.
a bit. Move the
The
left.
setup. Move to your left.
Move the picture to the left a bit.
A bit more.
Okay.
Oh,
my God.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, so this is the setup, right? So yeah, he has them down, so he'll scoop the arms up to stop them from reversing it.
I think I get what you mean, Nadia. As in, like before the move is executed, like the waiting time, like the hand is on the knee, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and they're full on. They clutch him.
Well,
Am I showing?
because you see, they are so groggy from the beat down that
Trying to explain psychology here.
They're so groggy, but what I mean
they're
is
just
that
grabbing.
they full on clutch him like hard, and that I don't know, for me.
Okay.
Let me explain this to you in.
Sure, go.
Do you watch MMA?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Do you know when like a person has been hit so many times in the head, they're groggy or they get knocked out? Sometimes when they are waking up from their, and this is, okay, I'm not making shit up now. This is like actual, like this has happened before many times, right? When somebody gets knocked out, they don't realize they've been knocked out. So the second they wake up, they start grabbing legs. And a lot of referees have been grabbed like this because they think, oh, it's the opponent, but actually it's the referee. So yeah, so that's okay. That's the psychology.
Okay, I got something to add. As a guy who have taken almost a power bomb or pedigree during our match, Mister Young, remember?
I'm sorry, what? During your what now? During your match?
Foreign had a exhibition match one time.
Oh.
So I have been in the ring, Nadia.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I can say all this based on experience.
On the mat.
Okay.
There was this 1 year I trained for a wrestling match. But anyway, what happened was this wrestler that I fought against, he was putting me in the power bomb position. So before that he beat my ass lah. So I was on the ground and I was like legitimately blown out because there's one thing about wrestling that I realized when I did it. You can legitimately within that 2-4 minutes you're out of breath. It's like HIIT, right? So as I was on the ground, flat on the ground, and he had to carry me up, he literally scooped me by my head and my hands. So like he scooped me with one hand and like in that pedigree position, and I literally used his leg to help me up because I was tired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I literally give me your leg, But what happened was, so okay, in the basis of the match, he was a smaller guy than me, so he tried to powerbomb me, but realistically he couldn't because of my weight.
Yeah.
So the crowd was like, "Oh, what's happening? Why is he reversing or what?" And like I kept blocking his move because he can't carry me, and he beat on my back again. And at the one last part when he was about to scoop me up, I reversed it and did a backdrop.
Yeah. Well, okay. So now if you want to talk about the actual psychology behind that, right? So the counter, what's the counter to the pedigree? You grab the legs and pull the legs out. So that's the reason for that.
Like a shoot.
Yeah,
like
and if you're talking about a shoot fight, if somebody puts you in that position, you grab the legs and you pull their legs from under them to reverse it, right? So you could argue that's what Shawn Michaels was doing in that picture you're showing us. But to counter that, Triple H hooks the hands to deliver the pedigree. So
wow, I love how we just broke down this move.
psychology.
I think that we all need to get together and try this. I'm not going to try it because that's going to look really dodgy.
Yes. Not
that the two of you doing it won't look dodgy, but I'm thinking like our next get together, if we ever have one, will be that we're going to try some of these moves out.
Okay.
Or we can watch video.
Yeah, how about we?
Yeah, why don't we just watch video?
It'll be so much more fun to see Farhan in the pedigree.
Yeah, let's go back to the don't try this at home.
Okay, yeah,
we already
don't try
talked
this at
about
home.
don't try this at home.
Yeah. But okay, look. Maybe I come from it from a context that I knew it was all scripted at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, can you just act a little bit, for crying out loud? It's all fake anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my perspective. Of course, I know that if this was in a MMA or a different kind of environment where it's not scripted, then of course it is different, and you completely understand that the person would be foggy.
No, I'm just making shit up at this point, just to for the sake of
No,
argument.
I just enjoy how he just went on this rabbit hole of like over-analyzing a move.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're trying to rile me up, yeah.
A little bit,
Because
maybe.
You really
be-
did. I'm like having to just kind of pull my hair. I'm just joking,
Because
I'm
okay, to be
joking.
fair, there are a lot of moments in wrestling where you see somebody just standing there waiting to receive the guy jumping off. You know there's like, okay lah, he should just siam right, he should just move, but you're like, let's just close one eye and forget about it. But sometimes it gets too obvious, and if you're wasting too much time, it's like, he's obviously standing there to catch the guy to break his fall.
Okay, put it this way, like I learned a trick or a trade when I was very, very young. You know how every time they do the switching music got that amazing sound, like a gunshot sound?
Oh, the slap to the thigh lah.
Yes, like I didn't know that, and when I figured it out, well, I was so happy here. I just go to everyone just for no reason. I just keep kicking.
Well, you know,
Oh my god.
and that's why Shawn Michaels wore those like PVC pants, because when you hit the PVC material, it sounds louder than if he were wearing tights.
Okay.
It's like,
Trade secrets.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So I think you all need to start wearing those to work. Then you can get some sounds going on.
Since I'm working from home, I don't need any pens to to make that sound. So it's all good.
TMI, bruh. TMI.
So we've gone from the sarong to
no pens.
Yeah, all right. So this is getting a little out of hand.
This is definitely a R-rated.
Yeah, don't stand up.
Yeah.
Please sit down. Okay.
Wow,
so
please, guys, please. I have some respect. Okay.
coming
for
back
that.
around.
I wear pants just for this interview. Okay.
So you mean
this
that
is quite frightening.
our
Don't
other
do the
podcast-
pedigree right now.
our other podcast you don't wear pants, is it?
Oh wait.
Okay. Anyway, coming back
to know.
around to the product current day.
So let's come back. Yeah.
Nadia, what would it take for you to get back into it? Like, would it have to be someone like a celebrity, or like, you know, right now, John Cena, he's the man, right? He's in Suicide Squad. He was in Fast and Furious 9. Would that bring you back to the product and go, okay, actually, I want to see him, you know, back in the ring if he's making a big return, which he did.
Yeah, I think so. Or if I became a ring announcer.
Okay.
Whoa.
Wait,
Yeah.
but that would mean that's part of your job, so you have to watch the product. But I'm talking about from like a fan's perspective. What would get you to sample the product again, as it were?
Yeah, I think one of those, or maybe more than one, like a couple of those guys would need to get on. I don't know. Maybe it depends on how good this interview is or this podcast is.
Wow.
If you all, you know,
Are we
if you all
selling the
do
product?
better-
Are we supposed to sell the product to you now?
Yeah, I think so. I challenge you. No, I'm just joking. Look, yeah, I think one of those people, or a couple of those people. Well, I know John Cena just came on. Perhaps I'll watch him. I don't know.
This is
Next
a
week.
very interesting thing, because like it's almost like an experiment, because we've always talked about lapsed fans like, on the podcast, and you would, you know, consider yourself a lapsed fan, am I right?
Yeah.
So who would it be? And that's probably why they keep bringing back these old like previous generation stars, right? Like you got Edge back in the scene, Randy Orton's still here, Cena. Now we're talking about all these Ruthless Aggression era stars now playing the veterans. They're all there, but you're still not watching.
I wasn't a fan of Edge.
Okay.
I wasn't
Sure.
really a fan of. I was fan of Randy Orton for like a short while.
Okay, Sure. okay.
I didn't like him in Evolution. I liked him when he became good, and I hated him before when he was starting to like have his weird Undertaker arc. Do you all remember that?
Oh, of course. Yeah. He fought Undertaker so many times, right? That year.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe like, okay,
Batista?
if they had two of them that I liked at the same time,
Okay, Cena,
maybe
Batista,
I'll consider it. Huh?
Undertaker, Cena, Batista. You mentioned them. So Cena's back. I mean, Batista's off doing movies.
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio is
Rey Mysterio?
technically wrestling still full time, but now with a son.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Ray, but I didn't love him.
Okay.
But I liked him. Yeah,
Okay.
he was nice.
Here's another interesting experiment I want to do right now. I'm gonna say some names of current top line headline superstars. See if you actually like. Do they even ring a bell? All right.
I doubt it, but yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I
let's
would like to
try.
try it. Okay, first of all, The Rock. Everyone knows The Rock, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Right, that's fine. Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
Oh, so you know who Roman Reigns is?
yeah.
What comes to mind immediately when you think of Roman Reigns?
Yeah, based on how do you remember him or know him?
SummerSlam. I don't know how I know him, but I know SummerSlam.
As in
next week,
the current
right?
SummerSlam?
Yeah, the one the way
Oh.
he's gonna face John Cena, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that, but I
Ah.
don't know why I know him.
Oh,
Okay.
that's interesting. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, because you are the gauge for whether WWE's wrestlers are in the mainstream
yeah.
based on your reaction. So
Hmm.
this is an interesting experiment.
Huh.
Okay.
Seth
All right.
Rollins.
I know him. I don't know why. But I do.
Do you think it's social media? Maybe you've seen a photo on Instagram or a clip on YouTube.
No, it could have been you.
Okay.
Like as in Farhan, you were like, go and check out WWE last year or something. And so maybe I went to take a look. I don't know. I really don't know why I know that.
Okay, I got another one. Charlotte Flair.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Flair. And you told, like, I quote, you were like, she's a naughty girl now, or bad girl or something. Remember when we were like on the phone, and you were like, she's a bad girl now, and I'm like, okay.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is, like, we need our current wrestling fans to be the influencers, lah. Because a lot of what you've brought up is from what Farhan or Foreign has mentioned to you. As opposed to like, oh, this is a mainstream guy, mainstream gal. Okay,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
what about a name like Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, of course. Of course I know her.
Does
Yeah.
that name ring a bell because of her MMA career or because of wrestling or both? Or just outside?
MMA career because I covered sports, right, in the newsroom. So I had to like write highlights. But I knew she went to wrestling. Yeah. Maybe I know these names because I covered sports and I'm
Right.
just not registering it
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
But the thing with sports coverage as well, too, like very rarely is pro wrestling covered because it's not a competitive sport. It's a performance. It's sports entertainment, as they call it, right?
Can I ask you this question then? Like, so after the Ruthless Aggression, I said you kind of outgrew it, right? Did you keep up with the product in any shape or form, or like were you aware of whatever's going on in the last decade, or was it like a complete, like was the Ruthless Aggression like really a time capsule of your fandom of wrestling, and ever since then you didn't have any interaction with it anymore?
I think I may have roughly known what was going on, but the thing is that was pre-social media, so it's not like now where we know everything. Information is like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So of course, like you were saying, right? You did not know Batista went to SmackDown until 2 weeks later because of the telecast date.
Yeah.
So it was kind of similar in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. So like, did social media kind of help you relive a lot of the memories? Because that was also one of the reasons I reached out to you in the first place, because you went down a YouTube rabbit hole, right?
Yeah. Look, you are the reason why I have relived a lot of these memories because
Okay.
So for some context, last year during before we entered the lockdown, I was posting on Instagram, and then this gentleman right here was like, you need to get WWE Network. You can see all of this,
Yes.
and you can get a free trial and this and that. So that's when I started going to rewatch, and it was just incredible. So I would say like WWE should be hiring you because you
Influencer, bro.
yeah, you're clearly like an ambassador and reconnecting a lot of these dots for a lot of us lapsed fans.
The WWE Network, was it really the big rabbit hole? Because of course you were watching clips on YouTube, but did the WWE Network help kind of jog a lot of those memories and bring it back?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you watch these things, the things that you literally had to take a nap for and prepare for as your grand Monday, Tuesday night spectacle. And it brought back so many memories because
I'm curious, how do you navigate the WWE Network? Because it's kind of like a big beast of a software. So how, like, do you just randomly search, okay, I want to search for Eddie Guerrero matches, or like how do you actually use the network?
That's such an interesting question. I went, I think, straight to 2003, and then I just watched from January and all the way until like whenever
the pay-per-views. You watch the
Raw. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. because Raw was my big thing. So that's how I did it. I've just been watching like week on week.
You know, I've always wanted to do
Wow.
that. Just go back to the Attitude Era and just rewatch SmackDown and Raw. But I've never had the time because we still keep up with the current product. And now that there's AEW and there's so much more access to other promotions as well, it's like there's just not enough time because, you know, I still have Netflix to watch, have Disney Plus to watch as well. So it's like there's
So
not
many
enough
things.
time. Yeah. And half the time when I'm watching Raw now, I'm doing some work on the side as well.
Are you guilty of like when someone asks, oh, so what are you watching right now? Like, what's your Netflix watch list or whatever? And then for me, I will write, yeah, I'm watching wrestling right now.
Yeah.
They don't really understand that wrestling, there's a lot to watch in wrestling. So like, are you guilty of that ever since like you found the WWE Network?
Yeah. And also because when people meet me or talk to me, they don't traditionally assume that I was obsessed with wrestling. I don't know, maybe it's just a stereotype thing, but so when I'm like, no man, I'm watching wrestling, you know, I'm hitting up the WrestleMania, and they're like, you're doing what now?
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I don't have Disney Plus, I have WWE Network because somebody convinced me to get it.
Somebody,
So somebody, I won't say who. Very special person.
Because you have the access to the network, have you watched any of the newer stuff then?
No, I've literally like been just reliving all of the old days.
See, that's very interesting to me because it's like, okay, if I have the old stuff at my fingertips, I would also be curious. So I'm actually curious to find out why the new stuff hasn't caught your attention yet.
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess it just comes down to my personality. Like when I'm obsessed with a certain thing, like I can rewatch it 1,000 times.
Right.
I don't need to watch new shows. I can keep watching like the same thing over and over and over again.
Right.
It's like Friends, like
You
you
don't have to
move
move
on
on
food, right?
to a new
Exactly.
sitcom. Yeah.
Exactly. It's comfort, and especially because I started rewatching all of this stuff regularly in the middle of a lockdown, which was certainly an uncomfortable. It has been an uncomfortable time for the entire world. So I mean, why not add in a little comfort, right?
Yeah.
The power of
interesting.
nostalgia, lah, basically.
Yeah. Exactly. But you should totally go back and do it though, because it's just I mean, like once a month. Dedicate an hour or two
To jump back in time, huh? Have you gone to a WWE event before?
No, I haven't. And I literally wrote in this journal, I was like, even though, you know, I never met Eddie or I never saw him live, like I just love him. Like it's hard to explain. So I wish I have. Yeah.
That's very interesting because like I'm pretty sure WWE came by KL or Malaysia. At least in the 2000s. So like, was it just never had the opportunity? Never had.
Yeah, I never had the opportunity because I kind of lived pretty far away from all of this, and getting around was pretty difficult. So I just couldn't. And I think they came to Singapore once, but unfortunately, I was working pretty heavily at the time, so wasn't able to take leave and all this kind of thing.
Like I dare say that their live shows are very important in getting the lapsed fan back as well, because I stopped watching WWE during the PG era. That's the era that I completely missed, right? And the reason I got back into it was because WWE was coming to town. I was like, okay, let's just catch up with the current product if I'm going to buy. I mean, I used to love this stuff, right? They're coming to town, let's buy a ticket. I'm like, I better catch up. And then I'm back, you know? So
would you be open to that?
Yeah, what we need to do is take you to a live event.
All right. Is it gonna be? Do you know if they're coming anytime soon?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, obviously not anytime soon, not during like this pandemic period, but maybe in the next few years.
They actually came right before the pandemic, 2019. That was like the last time they came. So I think they are pretty regular here in Singapore. Because I've mentioned to you that they actually have a headquarters. Their Asian headquarters is here in Singapore.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a question of if, but a question of when.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, good point. Look, I think you're right. Maybe going to a live event would change things up a little bit. I don't know. Are you all trying to convince me? Because you all seem to be going down this rabbit hole right here and talking about the new products.
We should do a pay-per-view watch party. That's what we need to do.
I'm just saying SummerSlam is next week. Roman Reigns, John Cena. I mean, it's on the network. It's free. So why not? Give it a try.
But
Maybe I'll consider it.
nothing beats actually hanging. I don't know if y'all remember, like back when the pay-per-views would air, right? And they would actually air it on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, as opposed to like now on the WWE network, when you watch it live, it's like Monday morning, and
it's
there's
real
no
time, yeah.
Yeah, there's no vibe lah. I'm sorry, but Monday morning there's no vibe to
Yeah,
watch. Like,
yeah.
because I remember growing up when I was watching like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, all that kind of stuff. It's like with friends, we eat pizza, we drink, you know, we
Yeah.
have a good time. You know, now it's sort of like Monday morning, and thankfully we work from home, so we can do it, right? It's like you're in your PJs just watching it, half asleep, like you know, there's no vibe.
Yeah.
Do you right now have anyone to like kind of
What was that?
Lightning. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Do you all hear that? It's
Thunder, yeah,
lightning.
it's
Yeah.
thunder.
I think that was you, right, Nadia?
What? The lightning? Yeah. No, it's Edge. You know, his entrance music
Oh,
is
yeah.
always filled with strobe lights. Yeah. He's come here to haunt me. Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I was
have?
saying like, do you have anyone right now currently that you are able to like trade off, or is this like not say a dirty little secret of yours, but like it's just like your own thing that you don't really share with people? Because like right now, to be honest, like me having young, like it has opened up this like crazy wrestling fandom in me. But for 15 years, it was dormant. Like I was like you, I was grew up in the Ruthless Aggression era, and then I realized okay, everyone outgrew wrestling except for me, and it just became this like thing that I just spent on by myself. So like, is that similar for you?
Yeah, it's similar, but yeah, and also I guess nobody around me was like a big fan, so I didn't really have anyone to discuss it with. Although last time when I was a kid, like I would watch Monday Night Raw, and then I come to school the next day and like talk about it with all of my friends. So at the moment, not really. I think you're like the main person I've been like having these heavy discussions with. But I have to say, you know, on the topic of pay-per-views, like I literally used to save up all my money and buy those DVDs. So I really have a lot of DVDs, including SummerSlam. So I probably have some of the older SummerSlam in my older house. Yeah.
And
So
I think the great thing about all those SummerSlams, the DVD versions, are not right now on a network. Some of them might be edited or cut out.
Right.
Especially in the US, I think because they are on a different NBC owned network called Peacock. So they are really PC right there. So like even some of the scenes that's very questionable, they deleted. So so really the DVDs that you own now is kind of like pristine condition. It's like really the unedited, like when it first came out live on air.
I see. No, I had no idea they'd edited it out, but can I just say, like, kids of this generation will never know the frustrations that we had in buying those, having to go to like the VCD or the DVD store to buy those actual DVDs. Now they have it for like what, $12 a month?
Yeah.
They get everything. It's just too easy.
Okay, you know what, Nadia? I think we can officially induct you into the Kick to the Gut family and community. Because I tell you, even though you say you don't have anyone you can share like so-called your wrestling fandom, once you are here on this podcast and once it airs, I tell you, all our friends are all just gonna start spamming you with wrestling stuff. And we
really?
We have like our listeners and the followers are really tight knit. Like every single week they will either share what's ever going on or talk about the nostalgia and that kind of stuff. So I think one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the show was that's the whole point of this podcast. We wanted to like reconnect wrestling fans with fellow wrestling fans so that they know that they're not alone. And I think that was the main thing. I think the thing that brings me so much joy about doing this podcast and talking about wrestling every single week is the fact that we are keeping that wrestling flame alive when we thought like all these years ago, like, it was just something back in my childhood. I don't have anyone to share it to. So yeah, I hope we do that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys are doing a really great job. I hope some of your listeners aren't going to be like, why is she saying Triple H sucks? You know, okay, he doesn't suck. Like all the hardcore Triple H fans, I didn't mean that. If anyone hates me because of that.
And if nothing else, you are officially our first female non-wrestler guest on the show. Like we've interviewed wrestlers, both guys and gals. We've interviewed a super fan before, but we've never had a female super fan. So I think it is a really fresh perspective. And I think a lot of our female listeners are probably going to reach out to you really, really soon and connect with you.
Oh my. All right. Yeah. Hopefully they'll know a lot more than I do about the current product your female listeners, right?
They
I'm
will
sure.
definitely try to keep you up to speed. So fair warning lah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I mean, at the end of the day, that is the beauty of what we watch, right? This pro wrestling business. There's a history to it, and it doesn't matter which era. You find a bunch of wrestling fans, you put them together, you're gonna start talking. It's almost 1 hour and 45 minutes in. Doesn't feel like it, but it is almost 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, see the time.
And
oh, yeah.
it always happens like this. And it's fine. And that's the great thing about the podcast. We get to sit down and just talk about what we enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, once you start watching it, it's like a rabbit hole, right? It
Yeah,
goes
good luck.
down rabbit hole.
You can't stop because
Yeah.
all the dramas are just amazing, and it takes you back, like it transports you into like a different time where all those dramas like exist, and then you like analyze it with a different lens, right?
Yeah.
An adult lens. But yeah, absolutely, you all are right.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, let's put a bow on this. If there's one thing that really stood out the most during your time as a wrestling fan, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, this is a very major question.
Yeah.
There's just the one most memorable storyline, wrestler, incident.
Okay, you'll need to give me 10 seconds to
Sure.
think about
Okay,
this.
Don't worry about it.
I can give it.
Yeah, why don't you all start
Yeah.
by giving me an example?
I think one of my most memorable memory from wrestling is just that anticipation. Like after a show ends, you can't wait for what's going to happen next week.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, you try to search for all these wrestling magazines.
Yeah.
Or like finding a gem of a DVD. It's like gives you all this excitement. So I think for me, it was the month-to-month anticipation of all the pay-per-views and the shows.
To me, it is because I'm a bit of a, like when I watch a movie, I like to discuss all the ins and outs, what happened, plot lines, they could have done this better, they could have done that better. It's like armchair booking. To me, it's the fantasy element of, wow, if I had I was the script writer, I would have done this. And that's the whole reason we do a freaking podcast in the first place, is for us to sit here and talk about how if we could do it, we would do it like this.
If we were Eric Bischoff, we were Teddy
oh my
Long.
god! Oh
Yeah,
my god!
so-
yeah.
We would be the one booking the matches. Yeah.
Or what we
Yeah.
love. Yeah, it's that camaraderie, that whole like this is a thing where it can just spawn off just so many different topics.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my
absolutely.
favorite thing about pro wrestling.
Okay. All right. Look, I don't think I can give you one thing. Can I give you three things?
Sure,
Of
go ahead.
course,
Yeah.
of course, go for it.
Okay, I think so my one umbrella thing would be just echoing off what the both of you have already said. It's this spirit of unity and anticipation and excitement, right? How we all get super invested in whatever it may be. It could be the move, it could be the storyline, but we are all just really like into it. We can talk about anything. And then my other two things. So one of them would be WrestleMania 20. You had people and wrestlers who really, really wanted those championships. Eddie Guerrero, WWE champion, and then at the time, Chris Benoit, he became the heavyweight champion.
Triple
right?
H HBK main event.
There was a great storyline.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people consider WrestleMania 20 one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah, but it was meaningful for those particular wrestlers because they wanted it so much, and you could see that passion, that emotion, right? Okay, then my third thing that I will say would be then subsequently WrestleMania 21, where you had maybe it wasn't quite as emotional, but you see Batista, with his star power, with his talent, with his everything, go in with this level of confidence, and you're just like, this guy deserves it because he's got everything, and he goes in there and he beats Triple H and his yada 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 to become the heavyweight champion, and at the same time John Cena becomes WWE champion, and it's like these two good guys in a sense, taking over the WWE. So that would be one of my favorite memories.
Just these culminations of great storylines, great feuds, great motivation. I think that's the beauty of the pro wrestling world, right? If a story told well makes you feel emotions, makes you feel angry, makes you feel sad, whatever it is, and then you get the payoff at the right moment, that's what we love.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Young.
Okay, Nadia, like I always say, we could go on for another 3 hours if you get us
I'm
going.
pretty sure,
So we don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you so much for being here with us, sharing with us your journey in the pro wrestling fandom, I suppose.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, like I said, the next time we'll see some pedigrees going on, okay? Between the two of you. It won't just be a rematch. I mean, a rewatch. It will be a proper practice.
Okay, we'll probably keep that KIV.
Yeah, that is a very strange request. I don't think anyone has ever requested we do a pedigree on each other, but we will we'll file that in the KIV folder.
Okay.
We'll
Thank
put it
you.
on our OnlyFans account. Mr. We're probably starting one soon.
Oh my
yeah.
god. This was
Nadia,
so
thank you so much. I appreciate you. It's been a long while to make this happen, but I'm glad you did come, and I hope you enjoyed yourself on the show.
I did. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
There you go. What a fun trip down memory lane back into the Ruthless Aggression era.
And how awesome was Nadia? Her passion, with her diary and everything. Like, she's literally a passionate wrestling fan and also a Labs fan. So a lot of people can relate
Actually,
to her story, right?
Actually, I feel like we should do a project with folk like that. People who are Labs fan, used to be huge fans, where we show them clips of new stuff, like maybe some AEW stuff, maybe some of the recent WWE stuff, to see their reactions. Like, I'm actually interested. What if we showed Nadia Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio and eye for an eye match, for example? What would you think about it? What if we showed her the exploding cage match from AEW?
Deep thoughts, a lot of passionate thoughts about it.
Yeah, we had a bit of a lag spike there, so I don't know if we caught everything you said.
No, so I was just saying that I'm pretty sure she has a lot of deep thoughts about it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That being said, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. As always, do us a favor, will you? Hit like on the video, and if you haven't already followed us, drop us a subscribe, all that good stuff. You can catch us on social media. Instagram is where we are most active. Kick to the Gut on Instagram. Drop us a follow. And if you missed any part of the video, or if you want to take us on the go while you're at the gym, whatever, hear us talk about wrestling, you can always download the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Yes. And if you know today's episode is not live, don't worry, we'll be here on the chat as well when it comes out. So please have your conversation and please respond. Show Nadia some love.
It's hilarious that you are saying this after we finish The show is over, bro. Show is over. You tell everyone to
This is
react.
the grand reveal, bro. This is the grand reveal.
It was me,
it was
Austin.
fake all along.
It was recorded all along. Okay, now it's time you can jump in the chat and talk. Alamak. Okay, we out of here. Let's go enjoy our weekend, dude. It's Mister Young.
And it's for in the building. Take care.